One of the important successes is the change in the whole issue of excavators. Excavators came in huge quantities, and I remember that at a point under the previous administration, they asked that permits be gotten before excavators are imported. Meanwhile, the law did not say you should get a permit after, but that was what we came to meet, that you bring the excavator, then you go to the Ministry of Transport and ask for a permit. But the law actually says that you must get a permit before you import the excavator. And so now we're enforcing that law. And so you can't bring an excavator in, you can't put it on a ship, and we're telling the shipping agencies, if you bring an excavator for which there's no permit, we shall penalize you, the shipping agency, for carrying that excavator here to Ghana. What are we doing to the kingpins? Because most of those 1,400 who have been arrested are young youth who are looking for something to be able to look after themselves. And we'll prosecute them, we'll imprison them. But those who run those operations are the ones that we must be arresting and imprisoning, not these little boys, you know. And so
that's the President, John Dramani Mahama, there yesterday when he met civil society organizations, leaders, and also some persons who have been vocal in this fight against Galamsey, that is illegal mining. And that point that he ended on, that the 1,400 and over people, that's illegal miners who have been arrested over the period, are these small boys, as he posted, that they are going after the kingpins. How much success has been chalked in that area? Because that was one of the specific promises of this administration going into election 2024. And in fact, the president has been clear in his position about arresting these small boys. So what is being done? A number of things the government referenced, excavators being tracked and others. With what has been done now compared to what is being done, did yesterday's engagement tick the box for these civil society organizations that were gathered there at the presidency? A number of them will be joining us this morning. We'll have a conversation here on Key Point as to where we are now with the fight against Galamsey and where we have to be. What has to be done going forward? That's a conversation that we'll have this morning here on Key Point on TV3. Also, this morning, we have a conversation on matters relating to the happenings ahead of the new Patriotic Party's flag bearer race. It's heating up by the minute in some less than 4 months for the party to go to the polls. What exactly is Musa Dankwa seeing? Well, this morning, he is going to be joining us. We'll have a conversation as well, and what he is pointing into with regards to the NDC too. Well, we'll have a conversation this morning here on Key Point. Fifi Fiavekwete, as the General Secretary of the NDC, has also consistently maintained the position of the party when it comes to these matters of the flag bearer race, and that being too early to even be talking about it. Is that the feel that Musa Dankwa also picks on the ground? We'll have a conversation this morning here on the Key Point. This week, we heard the announcement by the President, the United States removing Ghana's visa restrictions. There are some conditionalities in there. We'll have a conversation this morning. And also, was it really as a result of Ghana receiving these deportees? That's why we were now also having our status with respect to visas being restored by the United States. Was it as a result of these deportees we received, which created concerns about it not going to Parliament? The President this week arrived from the United Nations General Assembly, that 80th session, that statement that he made, that got the whole world applauding him. But there's some detail which we will get into this morning. Dr. Mohammed Ibn Chambers will be joining us. The Foreign Affairs Minister, Samuel Okudzeto-Ablakwa, will be joining us for the second phase of this conversation. We would have in the first phase as well a Deputy Minister of Roads also be joining us this morning together with Dr. Joshua Zato. We'll also have Dr. Palgrim Bachidankwa. We'll also have Musa Dankwa joining us right after for the poll tracker. Also, lawyer Martin Pebu will be joining us this morning as well. Daryl Bosu is the Deputy National Director of Arocha Ghana, one of the CSOs that were there at this crucial meeting yesterday. Stay with us after Key Point. We'll start the conversation right now. My guests already taking their seats. We'll get into poll tracker right after this. We're live on 3FM 92.7, also on TV3 Ghana on Facebook and on DSTV channel 279. We're all across the world on 3news.com. Also on the Voice of London radio in the heart of the City of London and the Voice of London television as well. Stay with us. We'll be back shortly. Welcome back. This is The Key Point on TV3. We're live on 3FM 92.7, also on TV3 Ghana on Facebook and on DSTV channel 279. We're all across the world on 3news.com. This segment of the program is a data-driven segment where we move the conversation to verifiable data that you can verify, you can follow yourself every step of the way. It's not just about the politics of things, the economy, issues of environment, social matters, everything that concerns you that is hinged on data. This is the segment that we're getting to here on The Key Point, and that is the poll tracker. Everything feeds into matters of the economy, because that's a bread and butter issues, really, that defines even how we vote. This morning, last week, we started a conversation, and flowing from last week, within the week, Musa Dankwa put out a new a poll that tracked from a period what the mindset of the NPP, especially the NPP delegates, are going into this crucial flag bearer elections on January 31, all things being equal. Now, this new poll had some delegates of the NPP polled. Also, you had the general populace, Ghanaians, and then MPP members within the Akan region, Volta, the Northern Bloc, and the swing regions as well. The sample size for this poll is almost 10,000, but it's about 9,497. That's the total. Out of that, the MPP delegates who were polled by Musa Dankwa in this latest one is 2,737. 2,737. I laid this foundation, and this is where I bring in the man who, together with his team, went on the ground to do this. Musa Dankwa is a CEO and global lead for Global Info Analytics. He's joining us in the studio. Musa Dankwa, good morning.
Good morning, Alfred.
Thank you, as always, for joining us.
My
this
pleasure.
morning. You seem to cause a lot of talk.
With data.
Not confusion, talk.
With data.
With data. When you put these polls out. And what's the intent, really? What do you seek to achieve with all this?
Look, in every democracy, polling is part of good governance. And polling enables you to hear the voice of the people, the voice of the voiceless, the voice of people who cannot call into radio stations or call you TV station or call or go into TikTok or WhatsApp and send you a message. But the polls aggregate all the views, red, green, or blue, and present them to the country. This is the thought of the nation. And what polling does is that it demystifies many issues that cannot be proven by fact, by making it bare using data. And also enable you to see the demography of the data and what it means, both now and in the future. So there are certain things we have seen or observed in the data today that could have profound consequences in 2028 and beyond. And this is what polling does.
It could have profound consequences.
Yes.
In 2028 and beyond.
Yes.
What do you mean?
Again, the demography of the country, the demography of young voters, and the views of young voters will shape our conversation from today and beyond.
Young voters?
Yes, young voters.
That is the major takeaway for you from this particular poll. I see. This one, you put a summary, and that also paints a picture so that our viewers can follow every step of the way. This summary just gives some detail of what the real meat is. And that in this new poll, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia is essentially still in the commanding lead. 57% of the voters preferring him to the others. Kennedy Ohene Japan, and then you have, at least in the swing regions as well, he's still having that same lead in the Akan regions, and then also in the Northern Bloc, which is not surprising, really. But then there's a story when you pitch Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia and Kennedy Japan against the possible, because for the NDC, none of the names that you poll have come out to declare their intentions of the flag. So then why are you doing that? If they haven't come out to declare, that's Johnson,
you and I,
Hama Idrisu, and then also Julius Debra and the others. That's Dr. Kasiela Tofosi.
You and I have an opinion. And that opinion is that we think in the NDC, these guys could be the potential candidates. You're not going to pick an MC from Wawa to come and lead NDC. There are possible options. Options that are plausible. And those are the options we put there. And remember, we've done this over a period of time. So what we've done is to pick the 4 names that have scored at least 10% in our tracking polls.
I see.
And that become what we call the plausible list for NDC, for us to take to the market.
I see. And those 4 are who?
Asedin Ketia, Julius Debra, Haruna Idrisu, and Atufosi.
But in one of the polls you did, you added Professor Nana Jenopoko Ajiman, the vice president.
Yes.
And then eventually you took her out.
Yes.
Why?
The decision was based on the fact that she was taken ill for some time, and we believe that that health scare could limit her ability to contest. And also by 2028, she will be 77 years. And what we've heard from the young voters is telling me that it is reasonable, unless I'm told otherwise, to exclude her, so that I can see the real race rather than the race with potential candidate who may not actually contest.
I see, because then that's one of the questions that are being asked of you. Let me run through this picture, then we'll get into the details, because we had to understand why, really, because she hasn't even come out to say whether she will or she will not. That is the current Vice President, Professor Nana Jenopoko Ajiman. So for the many who were also looking at what you were putting out there, why do you take her out when she hasn't even come out to? And she also has her own constituency that helped the NDC win the 2024 elections. You cannot discount her influence, okay, and her impact. So
remember, what we did was that in the week before the poll, we put out an announcement that if you know of any candidate that you believe may contend that we don't have in the list we have given you, let us know. And nobody called us. So we gave people opportunity to insert the name, but nobody called to insist that her name is insisted. So we didn't shut the door. The door was open all the way until the poll started. So we gave her team and everybody the chance to put names there. And if you watch the numbers that we had, the list had gone from few to about 9, because we had a backroom discussion with others, or people who think others may contest. So the list grew because of that. So we gave people chances to call us. We didn't have any call from her side.
We didn't have anybody calling to put up Professor Nana.
In fact, we even said that if you don't think you will go, and your name is there, let us know. We'll take you out. And indeed, we took somebody out.
Who?
I won't tell you.
I see. Right. So then this sample deployment, in fact, there are about 9,500 sample size cuts across all 16 regions. And then you also have 83 constituencies that you did face-to-face in. That's the 7,500 persons that you polled across the 83 constituencies out of the 276 constituencies as we have it. Then, and this across all the 16 regions. Now, what is interesting, and I had to establish this what we just spoke about, because it addresses a certain concern that was raised ahead of this latest poll that you put out as to why you choose to put certain names and certain persons in there, and then by your own whims you took out others as well. So it's good that we settle this matter. This explanation that you've given will take the box for others. Others will disagree with you because, in their view, Professor Nena Poku should be there. But that said, this part of the poll is amongst the general populace.
Yes, correct.
And you still have Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia in there, polling 57.4, as against kind of Japan, 29.3. What's the story in here? What are we seeing?
Look, the story over the last 90 days has not changed significantly for the MPP race. Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia is preferred candidate for MPP among general voters, followed by Kennedy Japan, and you have Educhum, Brian Champon, and Kobna Eji Ejepon. This list was finalized after the submission of forms. Before, there were other candidates that didn't pick up forms and indeed are not contesting. So these are the names we took, and in the end, this is the view from the general public. And this view includes all voters, including MPP sympathizers, NDC sympathizers, floating voters, and others. So this is overall the national view when you speak to voters.
I see. Then so this is the total that has all of that. Then you drill into this.
Yes.
The Akan block. This is an area that you have a number of what we describe as a strong
the idea is that you want to see how each of these candidates are performing across the various blocks. Now, the idea is that if you are the Akan candidates, you should be dominating in the Akan areas. If you are from the north, you should have a backing from your area. So what we saw is that even among the Akan regions, the 8 Akan regions, you have Dr. Bawumia still doing about 50%.
I see. Even in the Akan region?
Yes. And Canada, Japan doing 34%, slightly higher than national average in the Akan regions, which is expected.
Well, that's his closest contender in the Akan area.
Yes.
But you have other candidates as well who you would expect that will make it.
If you look at the difference between this and the previous data, the overall national, you could see that Bawumia has dropped 4% from the national compared to the Akan areas. And Kennedy has gone up from 29 to 34%. So the difference between the 5 candidates is just between Bawumia and Kennedy in the Akan areas, which is doing Ken doing about 5% better than the national average.
What's the difference between this and the poll that you put out previously in this particular Akan block? For the
and I think I haven't seen the difference. I haven't gone there to check yet, but I suspect Bawumia may have dropped from the previous polling numbers because he has seen some little drop across the general voters a bit.
I see. Now, this in the northern block, well, as expected.
As expected, you see. So he is riding very high in the northern block, whereas others are not doing well. But he still remains very competitive in the Akan block as well. So it tells you the dominance of his campaign in the 2 blocks that we've looked at.
And, well, that also then gives us another picture, isn't it? If you look at what the people you polled said for Kennedy Japan in the Akan block as against what is happening in the northern block. There's a strong allegiance to the man, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia. In 2024, in terms of the election outcome, that doesn't reflect this kind of support. That's what his contenders have been referencing, that you know what, this is your area. And you didn't do that well because we put you there to bring us the votes from there. What happened? You know,
if you are a northern voter, you always want MPP to present somebody from the north. You also like NDC to present someone from the north. At the end of the day, you get a president from the north. So they want a candidate that in whatever scenario, they could get the presidency from the north. And also, look, the fact that say I prefer someone does not necessarily mean that when it comes to voting, he will vote for that person. Let's draw a line between those two. I prefer him to lead. Would you vote for him? That could be a different story.
I see. Then it means that they would express their preference, but then may not vote for the person.
Absolutely.
But then does that not also cast a shadow of skepticism
No.
over your poll.
That is why you have to dig down and see how this data is further broken down into party affiliations. Because look, people are expressing their views, and they have every right to express that view. That view could be sincere, could be cynical, and that's what happens in election anyway. So it's up to you to decide or to understand how to read this data and how to use that data.
Well, then look at this.
In the voter block, it's quite tighter in the voter block. You can see that Brana Champon, Kobnaje Ejepon are doing extremely well. In the voter account block, in the voter block. Kennedy 31%, and Baume 44%. So you can see that Baume is being squeezed strongly in the voter block by his opponents.
I see. And this is in the voter block.
Yes.
But then again, you have other persons who you would accept that
almost 20% between Brian and Ajay Ejepon.
In the voter block.
Voter block.
What's accounting for this? Did you draw down this data? Because you say if you go down within and you drill the data, the details will tell you a particular story.
If you look at the party affiliation, I think we may come to that point. You can see how the party affiliates are picking their choices.
I see. Now, look at this. And this is in the swing regions.
The swing regions.
I mean, the 2024 election outcome then defeated the entire definition of
swing.
What we define as swing regions because of the pattern of votes that we saw, or the voting we saw in the Greater Accra, Central and the Western region. But then again, it takes more than just one election cycle.
Absolutely, to say that it's changed.
To say that this swing region status
has changed
or cannot hold it.
I think Accra will be probably out of swing for some time. I think the swing we may have will remain Central and Western region.
Central and Western.
Yeah.
But then again, in the outcome of 2024 elections, Central region was swept by the NDC.
Yeah.
Same as Western region.
You know, if you look at the pattern and behavior of those two regions, Accra's behavior has changed because of the demographic changes that happened in the COVID time. And that is permanent, right? But what we saw in the Central and Western is due to messages of the two campaigns in the last election.
I see. Well, my guests are taking their seats right now. Martin Pebo as well has just joined the pack of the others I mentioned earlier will be joining us, so stay with us. We'll get into their thoughts shortly. But this is the big one out of the lot.
Yes.
This is amongst the NPP delegates.
Yes.
And you say how many of them? Almost
2,700.
2,700.
Yes.
Out of the 9,500 persons that you polled.
Correct.
Are NPP delegates.
Yes. Now, in fact, the 9,500 excludes MPP delegates. So if you add the MPP delegates, we're looking at about almost 11,000 to 12,000 people we sampled.
I see. But 2,500 out of the lot. How reflective is it of the mindset, the pattern, and the possible outcome of this crucial election in less than 4 months?
Look, if you understand sampling and how sampling works, it's like preparing a soup, right? When the soup is ready, to taste the soup, you don't drink a bowl of it. You take a teaspoon, a small spoon, and then you taste it. The way it tastes with the small spoon, that's how the entire soup tastes. So you draw a sample. The most important thing is that the sample must be drawn randomly. Randomly. And this random course we placed delegate came from over 241 constituencies, randomly.
Randomly?
So we didn't just focus on few constituencies and draw the sample. We called them randomly and we engaged people from 241 constituencies where the MPP delegates are. And that gives me the assurance. And remember, we are saying that our margin of error, that's the most critical thing. I don't remember from the earlier, I think maybe around 1.2 or 2%.
Yes.
And the confidence level is 99%. So what you should be bothering yourself with is the margin of error of the survey.
I see. But then again, these delegates that you polled say that if elections were held today, and the denominator that you put out earlier is also very important, that they will tell you that they're going to go this direction, but on the day of voting, they could change their minds, right? So how reflective is this on this one?
Look, we don't just ask these questions and go. There are other questions that we ask them before we even get to this point. We ask them, do you approve or what's your view about Bawumia? Is it favorable or unfavorable? What about Brian Achampong? What about Kennedy Japan? So when they tell you how they view the candidates and you rank them by net favorability, you can see the top rating candidate among them. And then when you ask them who would you vote for, and they say, I am undecided or this and that, you can go back and reference the response he gave you on the favorability and the choice he's making down the line. So we are able to triangulate and find out those who may be lying. And even those who are saying undecided.
You see, that's my big takeaway. So with all this, you have a huge demographic who say they are undecided. 27%, that's enough to
swing,
to change a lot of things.
Absolutely.
So how then do you expect people to understand why you have 27% of people you spoke to who say, well, I am undecided. I am an MPP delegate, but then I have not decided on whether to vote for Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, Kennedy Japan, Brian Achampong, Duchum, or Kabene Japan.
A lot of delegates have not had encounter yet with the candidates. They are waiting to meet them one-on-one. And you know what that means?
What does it mean?
Oh, people are waiting to be seen and sorted.
They're waiting to be seen
and sorted.
And sorted.
Yes. So the decision we made as when those encounters happen. And look, we spoken to many of them. And we know what happened in delegate. We know. I mean, we can't pretend this doesn't happen. So some are waiting for them to be sorted, and they will decide. Look, but I am telling you, every delegate, whether he's waiting or not, knows who he's voting for.
Every delegate knows.
I'm telling you, he may rather maybe claim he's undecided because he doesn't know. Sometimes he doesn't know whether you are calling from the DMB camp or you are calling from Kennedy camp. So if they say Kennedy and you are DMB and you know that this guy you won't get him, he won't get his booty. So he will take a safer stand. So people you see making clear declaration are people who have said that they will vote for this person. They're not waiting for anything.
I see. But then again, when you call them, you disclose your identity.
Yes,
you tell them
yes,
why you are calling them. That you are calling from Global Info, you are doing this and this and that. Right?
They may think that Global Info has been hired by DMB to do poll for them.
But have you been hired by Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia?
No, we haven't been hired by anybody.
Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia hasn't hired you?
We haven't been hired by anybody.
Okay.
Right? So they have that kind of thought. Some of them are waiting. But look, when we do a final poll, and we still have that number as undecided, we will tell you how they will vote.
You can tell that?
Yes.
Okay. Well, I have Dr. Joshua Zato with us in studio. He is a senior lecturer, political science department, University of Ghana. He was nursing the intentions of actually representing the people of Sisala East on the ticket of the MPP at some point. But he's joining us in the studio this morning, and he's been doing some political analysis over the period. It's good to have you. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Alfred.
Dr. Joshua Zato.
Nice to be back.
Also joining us for the first time since he became minister. It's actually the case, yes. The Tamale North Member of Parliament, Al-Hassan Suhini Al-Hajj, is a deputy minister in charge of roads and highways. It's good to have you, sir.
Always a pleasure.
Congratulations.
I didn't realize I have been away for that long.
You have been. You have been. You have been. But welcome.
Thank you so much.
How's the big push going?
Let me congratulate our brother Musa Dankwa for the fantastic job that he continues to do. Even though for us in the NDC, we think it is too early.
We'll come to that.
It's all right. He's an independent poster, and you're an independent media house, so you can continue to do what you do. I'm sure people are enjoying it, but many of us in the NDC are only entertained by it. We are focused on delivering President Mohammed's big push agenda. And we are focused on ensuring that we reset this country. For us, that's our priority.
And it's good to hear that.
Why do you say it's too early? Really?
Yeah, well, I mean, we're entitled to have our focus as a party. And we don't take the mandate that the people of Ghana gave us lightly at all. And so anything that, suggests that we are only here because of the next election, for us is too early. We are here to deliver, to alleviate poverty, to reset our economy, and to improve our infrastructure. That's why we are here for now.
And will this not also help to then have the party start thinking and putting measures in place as to how you can address, because this is an undercurrent that is not
Alfred, that's what I'm telling you, that
yet.
For us in the NDC, led by His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, our focus now can't and shouldn't be distracted by anything other than delivering on the mandate that the people have given us.
How's the big push going?
Oh, by His grace. I mean, you can see that many of our contractors who abandoned site some time ago are back to site. His Excellency the President a couple of weeks ago, cut short for the beginning of the big push. He was in Greater Accra, he was in the Volta region, and he will soon go to the other regions to cut short for the construction of this transformative, road projects. And I am very confident that after 2 years, many of our problems, especially traveling from the north to the south, from the south to the north and to the east and the west, will significantly improve.
There was a particular road that Dr. Joshua Zato was concerned about at some point. you mentioned it. Now
yeah.
Just a quick one.
Just a quick one. When I was coming here, the main thing that was coming for everybody was that when you come,
even offset,
they said
Blapi
minister la Lewin Biavia and Lisi minister la Malewin Biavia. There are two things. Bulapo, tell him about our roads. Lisu, remind him about our roads. And that road is the Hang, Jeffy C, Tumu, Chuchulega road. So Minister was listen. Minister was blapan. They said I should tell you about the road. I should remind you. We've seen that some roads are being.
He knows that that road. He knows that road is part of the big push.
I know.
And it's going to be done.
Good.
And done
I'm just
very
praying.
well
So I just want to remind folks.
Wait a minute. By His Excellency John Dramani Mahama and the NDC. But he wants to be part of the credit when it is done. Then he will say, I was on TV lobbying for it. He didn't lobby for it.
I have been talking about it. Okay. Let me say I've been on TV talking about it. I've been on TV talking about it.
And President Mahama to do that road, and it will be done.
And I'm praying that you done. I'm cheering for the big push. I've said that here a lot of times. I'm hoping, I'm praying that God, let it be done. If you want, don't invite me to the commission. I don't mind. But let it be done. Because that road is very important. Especially now.
It's been awarded. It's part of the roads that will be done.
We've had the awarding. Some you started with some roads. I'm just praying. I want please pray and hope that it is done. Okay. So yes. So people who are listening to me, listen, Minister Lane, so I've done my part.
But that had nothing to do with the decision.
No, of course I have nothing. I'm just a mere university lecturer. What can I do with $1 million road?
Thank you. All right. Thank you. So at least.
But I've done my part.
Indeed. You have done your part indeed, and I'm sure the people of Sisala East are watching right now. And we also have Martin Pebu, is a private legal practitioner. He is leader of Kumipreko Reloaded demonstration. Anytime I say this, I get a reminder from Professor Emmanuel Jemfi. He says, I want to find out from you when the Kumipreko Reloaded demonstration will come up again. There has to be a reason for it. For now.
Yes, absolutely. If the government doesn't set up, we'll go again.
We'll go on Kumipreko Reloaded.
Yes. By all means.
2.0.
3.0. Yes, if government doesn't set up, we'll do it. You see the one Oliver did. Yes, so it tells you, before the elections, people just thought we were NDC lackeys, just disguising ourselves as independent. I'm sure right now you don't need anybody to tell you that we are truly independent, right? So now, to start, as usual, the rituals. But before then, I've also mentioned my road to Honorable School. So, yes, Pantan, there is a bridge there. Yes, he knows. He's assured me, so we'll do that. Yes. Mr. Ocansey, yesterday night, I didn't sleep.
Why?
You know what, Charlie? We should sit up and see what we can do to help the BNI. They are still abusing people's human rights willy-nilly. It's terrible. It's terrible. You know that the BNI has somebody in custody over this same publication of fake news, etc. For today he was picked up the Friday, so today is the 9th day. Jesus. Yeah, 9th day. Just like this one is worse than the Abronye one. BNI is not independent. It's terrible. BNI. Look, if we don't set up, it will grow into a worse monster. I'm telling you. I didn't sleep. I was slightly late because I woke up at night. I was like, what? Really? Because I contacted the director himself. It's over this Guinea conflict. A guy who had been preaching, they say he's inciting violence. They took him somewhere around Swedo area. You take the person to court. The court is not sitting, that particular court. What the Supreme Court, from our laws, if that court is not sitting, report to the registrar so that they will see how to send the case before another judge. That's it. They didn't do so. Brought him back, and then it's been it. In any event, they even arraigned him on Monday, more than 48 hours. It was past 72 hours.
Wow.
So BNI, if we don't wake up, and that's the case of Albert Dana, it's terrible. And I see why the MPP were right in doing that demonstration. Because you see, when Abronye got the bill, I was like, should the MPP do this demonstration? It's needless. There are other cases, there's no time. But I'm telling you, BNI is gone rogue. We hope that HKC Prempe will take notice. Let's see if it's possible for us to add them to the constitutional amendment, because it's terrible. It's terrible. I didn't sleep. I didn't sleep because you say when your neighbor's beard is on fire, hey, you find water for yours because you don't know when to affect you. Anyway, once again, so we will applaud Domahini, Sofe Kufu Yasantwa, and Gamanche Kentucky Teku through the second for all that they did. They stood up as valiant, very courageous countrymen and women when times were very hard, people didn't want to talk. And we'll continue to applaud them for it, you see? Because like even this BNI matter I'm talking about, you see, if we had that independence, like the way Domlevo is independent, you remember I read Domlevo's statement when Abronye's rights were being abused. I'm sure the BNI director would have been independent, you see? But because we've created that culture that, it's a gift, the position is a gift to him, you see that he can't, no, he's there for his stomach. He's not there for you and I. He's there for his stomach. He's grateful to the executive for the position. So he will do nothing to assert any independence. Because how? Whole director of BNI, I bring it to your attention that this guy was in custody more than 48 hours at the time he was arraigned. And now he's been in custody for 9 days without a court warrant. He's not on remand, though. This is worse than the Abronye case. Come on, Mr. Kipo, look, you can do better than this. Mr. Kipo, you can do better than this. Stop thinking about your stomach alone. Your stomach alone won't take you anywhere. We've spoken here, we've lost jobs, we found other jobs. If you think about your stomach alone, this country will sink.
Well, this matter that you have brought up is one we'll keep an eye on as well, with this that you have just stated, and whether there's going to be some action taken on it going forward. But your hat this time around, which one is it?
Yeah, this is a Bota hat.
Bota,
yes.
Bota in South Africa.
They spell that same way. So it's one, its name comes from gondoliers, that's boatmen. Boatmen in the Italian city of Venice.
I see.
That's where.
Well, Azazuri, welcome to the world of.
Yes,
every Saturday he has something for us, awesome. So it's worth also putting it out there. You have been clear, lawyer, on your position on all these persons. That you know what, for you, you're looking into the future.
Exactly.
It's about youthful front for you and nothing more, nothing less. Even if the person's policy is of some youthful orientation, you say that's not going to cut it for you. Because when you said this, when you made this statement, quite a number of them have been responding that, look, I might be old in age, in quote. I've gone beyond the youthful bracket, but my policies resonate with the youth. So why are you limiting my chances to whether I'm young or not, really, all these persons?
Good. Their policies resonate with the youth in their party, that's the MPP. But we all know that it's no brainer that generally between the two political parties, NDC and MPP, they all have around 45% of the population, generally, in terms of consistency. This is the first time that, if you leave out 92, where the MPP was boycotting, this is the first time MPP has had to do 41-something%, right? So you're not looking at your base. You should be looking at those of us in the middle, those of us who swing every 48 years. These guys don't appeal. Brian Champon looks like the most youthful. But it was just a few months ago when Brian Champon tried to take our hotels for a song. Brian Champon, after attempting to take our hotels for a song, next to nothing, a cabal, he tried to take our hotels away. I think who is going to vote for you? You know how he's going to loot us? If Kennedy Japan said it, he said they were looting like there's no tomorrow. So Brian Chapo is the one who looks very youthful in his face. No, but he doesn't cut it. Apart from the violence he was inciting, etc. So all of this crop, look, they won't get anywhere. It's a waste of their time. If they want to make it for 2032, they should look at the likes of Patrick Buama, and maybe Opon Kruma. But I think Patrick Buama cast it. Look, it's better they rally round somebody who can do 8 years. I told you that in 8 years, Baumia will be about 70.
So why are you talking about 8 years when the NPP itself is eyeing 2028?
No, they can't win 2028.
Why do you make
unless
this
something like what the
statement?
BNI is currently doing goes on and on, maybe 20, 30 cases. Oh, then that one, if BNI continues on this trajectory for maybe another 10 cases, it's possible I can vote for MPP. Okay, but I'm sure with this, Mr. Kipo will be well warned that he should assert himself and stop abusing human rights.
So
right?
last week you indicated that the only way the MPP will have a chance is when there's extreme misgovernance.
Absolutely.
By the NDC.
Yes.
Within the next 3.5 years.
When they do it beyond what Akufo-Addo did.
That would be the only way Baumia's candidature will be legitimized.
Exactly. Because remember that JM himself, he could come back because Akufo-Addo couldn't perform as much as JM. So it was like, me hear that day, somebody wa me, of fraud by, you know, you see, me hear that, so, like Momo, you go back to your ex-girlfriend, if the new one is performing worse, then you're like, hey, Sankofa Yenchi. You see, I'm sure in all the languages, you'll find axioms and proverbs that say that you, look, just eat humble pie. If you get a new boyfriend or new girlfriend and he or she is performing worse than the previous one, then just go back to the previous one and apologize. That's if it's the previous one is still, the ex is still available.
I see.
Yes, so that's the only way Baumia. But considering the way our society is changed, I doubt that this government can perform worse than the MPP. Because you see the president yesterday had to meet the CSO. You see the
conversation will come to
yes. But it tells you that Ghana is changed. No, if you look at the election results, I'm sure it's not lost on Honorable Suhini, the rest of the NDC, etc. That Ghana is changed. It can't be the Akufo-Addo, Kukwasa, and the Nebukadnezar tone-deaf business.
Okay, but you see, Dr. Zato, there's some truth in there, is it not? That even the president, the current president, John Dramani Mahama, did indicate that he considered retiring from politics after 2016. But then there was a call on him because of the performance of the previous administration. There was a call on him to come back, and he considered that call. So Martin Pebo is of the view that, look, the only way, in fact, one of the three major factors that would boost the NPP's chances in 2028 is if there is extreme misgovernance by the NDC beyond what we saw in the last 8 years. Then, well, you know, some people would look at Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, but beyond that, we should be planning for the next 8 years.
Thank you. I like the fact that, and I like how Martin is trying to play God. And he's trying to then determine for the millions and millions of Ghanaian voters what they should do or what not to do. I'm happy. I'm like the fact that you are playing that role, and it's good. And you started with the song, Me Yere Dada. Me, I also want to, I think, my small to the Me Dofwa Dada Me. If you look at the Dada Me that is going on, just yesterday or this week, there was a very big Dada Me with cocoa farmers. Remember, cocoa farmers were promised 6,000 cedis per bag of cocoa. And remember that so far, they've just given them less than 500 this whole year. But then you keep that dying cocoa farmers like that. And then tell me here, it has to take extreme distance for you to lose power. You keep on doing that. In this country, the history of this country has proved that it has nothing to do. One, you can rule the best you can and lose power. You can perform very high, better than anybody, and lose power. Two, you can also not perform very well and win power. Power sometimes depends upon one, personalities who lead, and sometimes the economy you are running. I'll give you two scenarios. In 2008, J.A. Kufuor inherited a HEPIC economy. He handed over middle status economy when he left. J.A. Kufuor, when he was living, was one of the most popular presidents we ever have in this country. But then people lost power. They lost power because that election became about personalities. It became about the person of Professor Mills versus the person of Akufo-Addo. We've seen that. Economy alone and doing well alone is not enough to either give you power or not to give you power. So me, I will not sit down here and say that or less extreme cases that, look, you can run an economy very well. And then something happens. Nobody predict. Did you predict what's the name? COVID would have come? Nobody predicted COVID. Did you predict the consequences of COVID? Nobody did. Events happen. Anyway, by the way, you said that Musa Dankwese, so far, in about 10 months, His Excellency the President has lost about 6 or 7% of his popularity. Imani Ghana has a report that says that the goodwill of the NDC government has been wiped out in 8 months.
The goodwill has been wiped out?
Yes. Imani Ghana.
Imani.
Wait.
Hold on.
Imani Ghana, yes.
Which specific report of Imani are you talking about?
There was a report.
The entire goodwill.
They said the goodwill of the NDC has been has evaporated
in the last 8 months.
That is the report.
Which report
Which
exactly?
Imani came up with it. I've said Imani report. You said which report?
Imani's report has specific themes.
So that sounds like
the report on the president approval ratings. They said the goodwill of the government
on the president's
is
approval
there.
rating?
Has Imani come out to say that the goodwill of the government has been evaporated?
No. You see,
have they said that?
Because you are making a statement.
So yes, that's
which
I'm not making a statement. I'm referencing a report.
Which report specifically?
The Imani
the
come out with a
approval
report
rating.
that says that the goodwill of the president has taken a hit. The government has taken a hit. Has operated. Has he said that?
So Imani has conducted a survey on the president's approval rating, and they say that the approval rating of the John Mahama administration has been wiped out.
Imani has conducted a study, and the study says that the goodwill of the government
Has been wiped out.
have evaporated, and they gave a reason.
Evaporated.
Yes, and they gave the reasons for that. Mass dismissal of workers.
Franklin Kujo is joining us right now.
Exactly. To talk about the report.
He's on.
Okay. No, let's go and see what. No, let's go to and see what the report is saying is true or not.
Make your point.
So the question I'm making is that within the 8 months of the current government, the president's high flying rate of about 73% has dropped to 63 or so percent, lost about 6%.
And he said wiped out.
No, this is.
I'm quoting two different reports. Martin, if you listen, you will hear. I'm quoting Global Info. He's here. Your report says how much has the president lost in 8 months?
That was last week.
Ms. Osadakwa, you said the president has lost how much?
6%.
6%. Within 8 months. 2. Imani also has a report that says that the president has also lost, the government has lost some favorability ratings. So the point I'm making is this: let's keep going on this and this. And the idea that nobody can abrogate themselves as God to say that this person cannot win, this person don't win. Because look, I know people who have said Akufo-Addo can never be president until he became president. I know people who have said that Professor Mills could never be president until he became president. And I know people who have said that, it can never happen until it happens. So look, I am happy to say that, yes, I'm glad to see these things happening. But there's something unfortunate that is happening within the NDC that I'm not happy about. For the first time, the NDC is moving away from their tradition of letting the sitting vice president replace the president. And they are doing that, trying to bundle away and try to push out the sitting vice president, which is not fair. Jerry John Rawlings handed over to his vice president, Mills.
You said, no, hold on. Gentlemen, hold on.
Can I be allowed to make my point here? Can I be allowed at least to make my point here?
Hold on.
The NDC has a tradition. The NDC has a tradition of making sure that an incumbent vice president takes over from the sitting president. That is the NDC's tradition.
Okay. But if you say...
No, let me develop that point.
Yes.
And that point was solidified on what became known as the Sword Road Declaration, where Jerry John Rawlings stood up boldly, held the hand of Africa Mills, and said that Mills was going to lead him. When he did that, Guzitano and the Reform Report, they left the party and went and formed a new party. And from that moment on, the NDC almost disintegrated onto 3 parts. But the NDC stood by. That is why Mills replaced Rawlings. That is why Professor Mahama replaced Mills. And today, it is the turn of Professor Jane Obokunana to replace Mahama. And what do we see? She's not even making the 3%.
So
when you see the fight back from the NDC that Musa Dankwa don't do what you're doing, what they are simply trying to say is that your poll now is saying that the vice president cannot be president. They are telling you that your poll now is saying that this woman is not where you are trying to muzzle out this woman. And that is why you see in the fight. When you hear Kwesi Ahoy and others calling into Metro TV to propose this, and they are saying let's protect this woman.
Dr. Zato.
Let's go to, can I see the NDC? Can I see the NDC chat?
One of the things I don't do is to take up what happens on other platforms that we haven't seen.
Okay, sorry. Okay, so
to make it a discussion point.
Okay, I don't want to do that.
You know
okay.
that.
No, good. So let's talk about the NDC. Can I see the NDC
so
list,
because
please?
you indicated that
the NDC list, okay.
The NDC is muscling out.
The vice president, yes.
That is to suggest that the party has taken a decision to do so.
Whether it's by coincidence or it is the fact is that the vice president how can the president have 67% approval ratings, meanwhile the vice president is not even cracking the top 3%?
I asked a specific question.
Yes.
You say the NDC is muscling out the vice president.
Yes.
Where did they do that?
That's how I read the polls. Please,
that's
can you
how
put that,
you understand the polls.
Can you put up the NDC polls?
That's how you understand the polls.
Good. So look at this. I want to.
That's how you understand that the NDC.
I want to tell you the analysis behind the polls. I want to tell you the analysis behind that poll.
No,
I see. Yes, that's the headline. I want to tell you the analysis behind that.
I think that in understanding this,
Alfred,
the man who did the poll. Wait,
Alfred, you could just pardon me. You see, it is Saturday morning.
I'm going to come to you.
It's Saturday morning. And see, when people wake up, I'm
going to come to you.
On Saturday morning, when they don't have to go to work, they want to listen to enlightening and enriching conversations.
Exactly. Let's do that. I want to do that.
Ridiculous.
I want to do that.
Hold on.
So can we look?
The person who did this is here.
Good.
In reading this, is that to say that there was any specific muscling out agenda?
You know, I've never been part of any agenda of any group of people in my life. We put out an announcement. Look, we have done several work behind the scene. And in the first poll we conducted, she was first with 25%, then Harun Idrisu and the rest. Then she got into these health challenges. And thereafter, she was taking time to recover. We did a poll quietly and asked people, who would you prefer to lead NDC without her name? And we put someone else. And we said, if it's someone else, mention who. So obviously, if she was on people's mind after that situation, people would have mentioned her name or would have brought her back. So what the list we have is a combination of people who get in touch with us, our own assessment, and our own internal polling data. That shows people were not mentioning her. And we put out an announcement that her name is not there. If you believe any person's name is missing from the this list, please contact us. That was publicly announced. Nobody contacted us. So don't come and say that, look, Mr. Zato, I think let's be measured.
It's so ridiculous.
No.
Don't say no. You make your point. Let me also make my point.
Hold on.
Make your point. Okay, I'm listening. Because you can't say...
No, hold on.
The polls are done by us, not by NDC.
And not NDC.
NDC doesn't own this poll. We are not NDC.
How can
Get it?
it be used to muzzle out?
If you like, your African can do a poll with her name in there. That's fine.
Some arguments you don't make them.
Can I respond?
So at least,
I have the right to respond.
at least now that matter has been put to rest.
No, what matter?
You make a
what
claim.
matters put to
You are
rest? Let me
responding
explain.
to. You are asking for a response against.
Like what matters?
Do you listen to yourself?
Yes, I do.
You make a claim.
Can I
You respond to you.
What matters?
You ask if you can respond.
What matters put to rest? I'm telling you that you have.
Hold on.
Do what?
Hold on.
Do you listen to yourself
You
when you
made
talk?
a claim. And the person who did the poll is
Did I say he muzzled him out?
So
Did I say that?
Then
did I say so? Let me explain. I'm relaxed. I'm very relaxed.
On what basis are you then saying it's been muscled out? With the poll.
Thank you.
With the poll. Your reference was with the poll.
Thank you very much. You have a vice president who is with the president. The president's approval rating is 63%. Very popular with all Ghanaians, with all NDC members. Yet the president, his vice president, cannot even make 2.0% within the party.
So you're going back to the point that he has just explained.
I'm going back to the point that the point I'm making, you should understand is that Why is the president so popular within the party and the vice president so unpopular within the party? Why?
That's how you understand
That's
it.
That's what the poll is telling me.
No,
the poll is telling me that the vice president doesn't even make the top 5%. That means she's not popular in the party.
Look, doctor, I respect the title doctor.
Yes.
Her name wasn't included here. So you can't say she's not popular.
You mean she was not polled?
She was not polled.
The vice president, the sitting vice president,
I'm telling you.
to lead the increase.
You asked a question.
You didn't poll the sitting vice president to place the party in the party that has a tradition of the vice president always replacing the president.
Not always.
You see,
Always. It's always. It's always.
You know,
Aka left office.
Hold on.
But there was no transition.
Hold on.
There was no transition. Yes, I'm saying always. That's because
you have made your point.
Aka was not even a member of the
You made your
NDC.
point. Thank you. Now, let's bring out Hassan Suwini on this.
You know,
I think that in the end, just on this quick one, and then we'll move to what we are seeing on the screen right now.
Alfred, you see, like I said earlier, I'll repeat myself. I put myself in the shoes of viewers because there are days that I'm also a viewer. And so when I wake up on Saturday morning, especially when I don't have much to do, I want to listen to discussions that will enrich my knowledge and set me on a good tone to have a beautiful day. But when the discussions veer into realms of ridiculousness, then I begin to wonder, what went sometimes even into the selection of the panel? And I'm not talking about this panel. I'm just saying what I think about when I'm scanning through stations to listen. Look, Alfred, Zato makes a ridiculous, not one, ridiculous claims about NDC muzzling out, a candidate when there's no candidate. In the first place, there's no candidate. In the second place, the NDC is not conducting a poll. In the third place, NDC is not carrying out any campaign or any election. Like I told you, the focus of the NDC at this time is to deliver on the mandate of the people. Musa Dankwa and the Info Analytics team are independent. And they can choose to run polls on anything in this country. And they have chosen to do so. But no one can begrudge them. We in the NDC are not bothered by that. We are focused on delivering on our campaign promises to the people. And media stations also have independent editorial, decisions. And they can choose to highlight what they want to highlight. So they are highlighting Musa Dankwa's polls. It's up to them. But we are focused on, for example, fighting Galamsey. And you see His Excellency President Mahama yesterday engage with CSOs to ensure that they come on board to understand the processes and the programs that are used to fight Galamsey. That is our focus. The finance minister, only a couple of days ago, together with my minister, the road minister, got a 3 billion Japanese yen to ensure that we expand, the road sector, especially in the Ashanti region, which will complement the big push projects that we are focused on delivering. That is the focus of this government. So people can choose to focus on what they want to focus on. But for us in the NDC, we are focused on delivering on the, promises that we made to the people of Ghana. And Zato talks about a tradition in the NDC, which is a complete lie. A complete lie. Look, the fact that Professor Mills came after Jerry Rawlings, and the fact that John Mahama came after Professor Mills does not make it a tradition.
What does
it doesn't. But even if it is a tradition, it is one we'll be proud of. Nobody is forced to succeed his boss. It is a personal decision that people take. And when Vice President Aliu Mahama took that decision, the NPP taught him a bitter lesson. A lesson today that unfortunately, Zato and others are campaigning with in the north. They go to the north and they tell people that it is the time of Bawumia because he's from the north. But they forget that when it was Aliu Mahama's time, Aliu Mahama didn't even make second. He didn't even pass as third. Some of them did not support Aliu Mahama even though they were from the north. And that is the tradition of the NPP. But for us in the NDC, it is an open contest every time there's a race. And if a vice president wishes to succeed a president, he or she and the supporters will say so. But where we are today in NDC, we are focused on delivering the promises that we made to the people of Ghana, resetting the economy of this country, improving on justice delivery, like Martin Kpebu has highlighted, and also ensuring that freedom of speech, especially, is expanded. And perhaps that is why Zato and others can get this platform to express themselves freely without any fear of being, invited or heckled anywhere. But that is the focus of this NDC government, to reset this economy, to reset our democracy, and to reset our country. We are not interested in who succeeds us at this moment. And when he's making references, he should say it well. Kwesi Ahoy never called into any radio station. Kwesi Ahoy never called into any radio station recently that I know of.
Then apologize, I withdraw that. I withdraw that. Okay, I withdraw that. But Mr. Ahoy,
the party, one of the party founders who called into another radio station yesterday said, to a large extent, the same things that I'm saying on this platform, that the focus of the NDC at this point is not who succeeds President Mahama. It is about who is supporting President Mahama to deliver on the mandate of the people.
And you see, that leads us to this next matter about what this poll reflects. This poll reflects, because it is the big takeaway that we're interested in. Musa Dankwa will have to leave us at some point, but it's the big takeaway that we are saying. You made your point, that we're interested in. If you look at this picture that is on the screen right now, Kennedy Japon's following, and in fact, Dr. Pagre Dankwa was to join us this morning as well. We understand that he's had a situation, and so he's unable to. And it was one that we're following up closely to find out exactly what happened. But they are contesting this because, you know what, they say the reflection on the ground is not reflected in what we're seeing here. 27% undecided. They make the bold claim that this is theirs. All of this is theirs, if you add it. And that's enough for them to have to stake a claim to who leads the MPP.
It's an assumptions they have made. But the data says that these guys are undecided. If you want to prune them further and see where likely they could vote, we could do that. We haven't done that yet, because we are 3-4 months away from the date. Once our final poll comes through, we'll tell you how the race is going to pan out. The next one will be done in October. Next MPP delegate poll. We'll see how the numbers are shifting. As they go around the country, we may see some movement, but certainly there will be a good number who will still be undecided. Typically for MPP, around 20% before the election day. And that would depend on, and the outcome would depend on how far Bawumia is to the finish line. If they are able to drag him below lower 40 or upper 38, then we are in for a big trouble. But for now, where he is, I think he could scrape through.
I see. But then there are 118 days to January 31. Yeah. 118 days. A lot can happen within this period.
Yes, a lot can happen. But you see, within what could happen, there are certain voters whose votes are locked. They are not available to be taken. You must see how likely those people will shift their numbers. When you are doing polling, you must see those who are vulnerable in terms of who could, their base is not solid. Now, when you do that, you could see who could be highly vulnerable to these changes. So far, I think MPP race is quite steady. Is firm, with little movement here and there. What we have seen is trading of vote between Kennedy Japan, Brian Achampon, Educhum, and Kobna Japan. They have to go to Bawumia's camp to pick numbers from there. At the moment, they are not doing so.
Mm-hmm. I see. And there's a trading of votes.
Yes.
And there hasn't been any loss whatsoever.
Yeah, there have been slight loss by Bawumia, but that loss didn't go to any of the opponent. It went to undecided.
This area.
Yes.
You have a lot more people leaving this to this area.
Yes, from the data that we compared from this poll to the previous poll.
I see that persons who had previously indicated that they were going to, if elections were held then, they were going to vote for Dr. Bawumia, are now moving into the bracket.
But 5% have moved into undecided column.
What does that tell you, Martin Kpebu? the movement of these persons who into this bracket of undecided, and we're moving on, we're not going back to the other issues, says that there are a lot more persons who previously had indicated they were going to, for instance, vote for Dr. Mahmoud if elections were held then, and now saying they're undecided.
Well, it's positive. It's good, meaning that they are on their way to not voting for him.
How is that?
Yes, because he said now undecided. People who had previously said, I'll vote for Baumia, now they said they are undecided. It means that they are on their way out.
Really?
They are on their way out. Yes, because it means that they are seeing something else. I hope, Mr. Danko, you cannot rule out my plausible explanation. It's one of them. Previously, you say elections held today, I'll vote for Baumia. Then today, that's so as we were asked a month ago. And then today, you say, no, I'm undecided. I mean, one of the most irresistible conclusions is that such a person is probably seeing something better today. Okay? So he's having a rethink, which is positive. It's positive, extremely. Let Mr. Dankwa corroborate or, disagree.
As to whether it's positive or negative.
You can't rule it out. It's one of the possible.
I think he's right. You can't rule it out.
Yes.
And some of them too, the environmental factors in terms of seeing the candidate and getting sorted also plays a role. If he tells you that, oh, I have decided, and then from the other side, it means I won't give you anything. So he will probably take a safer bet. I'm undecided, so he can take from both sides.
So
once he's done that, then he can decide. Okay,
democracy, not democracy.
Yeah.
Okay.
So and those things are real. Those things are real.
I see. But for quick one, Dr. Zato, at some point you indicated that to the extent that Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, in terms of how many times he's been on the ticket of the NPP, it plays out to his popularity from 2008 till 2024, and still yearning to do so. And so for you, compared to, if you put him side by side to John Mahama, he's the next most popular person. But you have some persons within this camp saying that it's not so much about the popularity. The viability of the candidate as well is one that you have to look at. If you look at the popularity and the viability, is this working for Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia?
Thank you very much. You made a point, and I want to do something. I did indicate that it was no, it was Mr. Ataho. I just want to correct it.
I think he's corrected. You've corrected.
Secondly, Mr. Danko said something which is right. You have the right to do your poll, but you don't have the right to tell us how to read that poll.
Okay.
It is strange that in a party that has tradition, you are polling people that are polling the vice president.
I specifically asked the question.
In this particular case, yes. Look, I've said it. If apart from His Excellency President John Dramani Mahama, the next most experienced, most viable, most marketable politician in this country today is Excellency Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia. He has demonstrated that he has the knowledge, he has the exposure, he has the experience to lead this country. And he has demonstrated that Ghana will be in very safe hands if Ghana was handed over to him at the end of this. He has demonstrated that. No other person in the NDC, apart from President Mahama, comes anywhere close to Dr. Bawumia's exposure, his experience, his knowledge of running, one, for national office, and two, working in the executive arm of government. He has done both. If you compare to the others, the NDC will come out with rookie. I've said that. Whoever the NDC brings up to run against Bawumia will be a rookie. And by the way rookie means that will be the first time that person is running for office. That's what I mean. Rookie defines as the first time the person is running as president. No other person in the NDC, apart from Cyril Norman, has that experience. Dr. Bawumia has run as vice president for 2 times. He has run and has been on the losing side for 2 times, on the winning side for 2 times, and then as presidential candidate, he has lost for 1. That experience, that exposure, that knowledge, there's nobody in the NDC that has it and can equal him. So if you look at the bench that the NDC had, it's a lightweight bench compared to Dr. Bawumia.
You say he's been on the winning side for 2 times,
yes,
on the losing side.
2 times. As vice president. And then when he himself ran once, he lost.
Well, as a running mate, he's been on the losing side more than twice.
Mm-hmm. After 2012 and 2008,
I'm just saying to you that because you indicated that he's been on the losing side twice.
He's been on the losing side not twice.
But that's twice.
Factually,
losing side twice as vice president.
As vice president and winning twice. So what is more?
No. So.
But he lost once as a presidential candidate.
Exactly, not as vice president. So my statistics are correct.
I specifically stated the running mate position because you said that he's been to that particular elections.
Yes.
On the losing side.
He has not faced Ghanaians 5 times. lost twice as vice presidential candidate, won twice as vice presidential candidate, and lost once as presidential candidate. That's expertise, that's knowledge, that's visibility.
So this...
Total rejection.
So now, what is now...
Wait.
Total rejection. Rejected goods. We are not going for any rejected goods.
I want to say, I'll come.
Thank you.
You see, based on the outcome of the 2024 elections, would you say the popularity as against the viability of his candidature, he will still be a viable option or alternative?
Based on everything you have just said, I can say without any equivocation that the next president of the Republic of Ghana will be essentially Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia. That is also because he has I've just told you, if he's coming, it's like Mike Tyson coming out against Bukom Banku.
And yet he was just accusing Martin of playing God.
I'm also telling you this. And the NDC is now, he made something. When Aliu Muhammad did not win the NDC, you know what happened? NDC went out and said that in their party, they have a tradition of elected vice presidential candidates.
So you had indicated that Martin Kpebu was almost playing God. I think this emphatic statement is...
I'm telling you about, I'm playing statistic. I'm playing statistic.
Which you contest.
Yes,
I see.
I'm playing statistic.
It's interesting to make this
the
point
numbers.
because Musa Dankwa pitched the candidate or the person that he polled,
yes,
in the NDC,
yes,
to Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia. And look at this.
Yes.
This is what was one of the things in your poll. That if Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia should, that is, for the purpose of this poll, because none of the NDC candidates have come out to state their intentions, should you put them head to head to Esiedu Nketia, Johnson Esiedu Nketia. If elections were held today, the people you polled say 50% of them say they would, as against 45% of Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia. Even though Dr. Zato says all of them are what? He says rookies.
Yes.
Julius Debra is the only person that you see there that Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia seems to have also showed his mettle. Dr. Kasela Toforsin, if he's put up against Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia today in elections, this will be the outcome. Out of the people you poll, 44% against 53 for Dr. Kasela Toforsin. And Haruna Idrisu, current education minister, you say if elections were held today, head to head, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia and Haruna Idrisu, the people you poll say 55% of them say they're going to vote for Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia. That's for Haruna Idrisu. That is a departure from the conviction that Dr. Zato has this morning for these persons as against Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia. So what happened?
This is the data. And I can speak beyond the data. And it shows that Bawumia will lose against the three except against Julius Debra.
And did you drill down this data to find out a bit more detail?
We have drilled down to various demographic levels, and I haven't got that figure now. We know which regions they are all winning and by how much per the data. We know which demography, which age groups. We know by gender, by education. So that detail is there. We haven't put them out for a number of reasons.
I see. Well, this is what the data says, unless you disagree. Because you just referenced...
I love the data. I love this data. And I love it that now. I love the fact that an 8-year-old incumbent government with a high in popularity of 63%, and the national chairman is only beating a presidential candidate who just lost a presidency by only 5%. And that the incumbent chief of staff, again, in a government that is rated so high, is only beating him by 4%. Pardon?
An 8-year-old government.
No, sorry. It's a government that has just left power. President Mahmoud Bawumia just left power.
Okay.
And the NDC is in this honeymoon. And even within this honeymoon period, they are only beating him, if you go by this, by less than 10%. That puts him in a good state, because by the time this government begins to grow. By the time they begin, and we all know, everybody knows, governance means that sometimes their bodies. Governance sometimes means that you take hits, you take shots there, and your popularity, the president has already lost 6% popularity. Imagine these people also begin. That is because you begin ruling. When you rule, you make mistakes. So me, I'm happy where he is. At least, if you see the average, he's sitting on at least an average of 45. That is where he wants to be.
Well, Musa Dankwa is going to have to leave.
That's where he wants to be, and that's a good position for him. I'm really happy where he is now, and I'm happy that he's not living. It's like a marathon. So long as he stays at an average of 45, he'll win the next election.
Alassane,
Yeah.
this is the picture that, contrary to what Dr. Zato says, all these persons, these 3 out of the 4, will show some good showing, or have a good showing against Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia if elections were held today. Dr. Zato says, look, to the extent that he's maintaining a certain average, is good enough for him. 3.5 years.
You know, and what is still ridiculous is the claim Dr. Zato makes when he says that he can say emphatically, and the word he used, unequivocally, that Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia will be the next president. Meanwhile, a while ago, when Martin Pebu suggested that the NPP could only come to power after 8 years, he said he was playing God. But then he is playing statistics. and yet again, Alfred, the ridiculousness. The statistics you put out does not support the claim that he makes.
Wait.
I mean, if you look at what you put out, like you yourself, what you have put out, if I'm to believe it.
This is Musa Dankwa.
Yeah, I'm saying, what you have put out on your screen, if you are to believe it. No, this cannot inform one to make an unequivocal statement and an emphatic one that Dr. Bawumia will be next president. So, even if he's not playing God, statistically, he's still incorrect. But you see, that perhaps is for entertainment. For me, I want to assure Martin Pebu that, look, His Excellency John Dramani Mahama and his government will not do worse than Nana Akufo-Addo. It will be a disaster if any government today or in the future ever does worse than Nana Akufo-Addo. Because the bar under Nana Akufo-Addo was too low. In fact, sometimes I don't even feel comfortable measuring our successes and our performance with Nana Akufo-Addo's regime.
Exactly.
Because, trust me, many of us in the NDC do not want to compare our successes with that government. It's, if we could erase it in our history, perhaps we should be doing so. So, as for the NPP, currently, any fair-minded observer will tell you that the party is dead.
Why would you say such a thing?
They need to resuscitate the party. They need to reorganize the party, which they are not doing, unfortunately, because they say they want to roof a building that doesn't have a strong foundation. And so they are just wasting roofing sheets. But who am I to advise them? I'm only perhaps concerned because I'm a consummate Democrat. And I will want to have an opposition that can keep my government on its toes. That's the only reason why I'm concerned. Otherwise, I should be singing, praises to God that they are engaged in an exercise that will not resuscitate their party, that will not make it stronger. I mean, any fair-minded party person, even MPP party person, will admit that their party is dead, is in crisis. I mean, if you have the general secretary referring regional secretaries to disciplinary committee, I mean, it should just tell you, you'd have a chairman that is nowhere to be found. And the family of the chairman even writing strong letters to the party when it is suggested that he is going to check. I mean, these are telling moments. And look, again, look at the people who have come out. As for the NPP, we can discuss their succession because they have come out and declared their intentions to run, to be flag bearers. Look at the people who have come out. And please, Alfred, we've been around for a while. We have covered NPP politics before when we were practicing journalism.
Thank you.
And you look at the people who are currently leading the NPP today, and you ask yourself, how did the NPP get here? Are these the materials that they really have in the party? How did they get here?
You never say.
I mean, regional chairmen speak, and you want to go under the table, not because of even the grammar they use, but even the logic that they espouse. I mean, and you want to go under the table. Regional chairman, who I didn't say chairman. Chairman.
We have the men.
Chairman. From the north to the Bono area to wherever. Even national chairman speak and you want to go under the table. Regional, I mean, their secretary speak and you want their flag bearers speak and you are, wow. Is that what the MPP has become? But you see, so if they do not want to, reorganize their party and they want to continue deceiving themselves that all is well, we can only wish them well. But for us in the NDC, Alfred, as things stand now, I repeat, we are focused on delivering the scholarships that the Student Loan Trust, the Scholarship Secretariat, is currently rolling out for both local students and international students. We are focused on making sure that students enjoy their stress-free when it comes to payment of fees. That is championed by the Student Loan Trust Fund, and it is being rolled out, and students are enjoying it. We are focused on making it better and improving upon what we have achieved now. We are focused on ensuring that Get Fund also support with the scholarship that they are rolling out for both local and international students. We are focused on ensuring that the entrepreneurship training that is currently ongoing, led by the Jumawura program, leads to empowerment of our youth in this country. We are focused on ensuring that the Youth Enterprise Agency, led by Malik Basintale, continue to roll out the models that are putting our youthful population into productive life. We are focused on ensuring that we bring down inflation further. For the first time, we have hit single digit. For the first time in a very long time. From, remember, about 54% of inflation. Today, we are talking about a single digit inflation. And guess what is driving it? Food inflation has come down drastically. And that tells you that food prices on our market are getting better. Even if they go up, they are going up at a significantly lower rate. And the Agric Ministry is ensuring that there's bumper harvest of many of our cereals and grains, improving on our food sustainability as a country. We are focused on fighting galamsey, and His Excellency the President is inviting all to come on board and ensure that we succeed against this canker. That is the focus of His Excellency President Mohammed's government. That is the focus of the NDC. And at the right time, when the party is convinced that it has delivered enough to the admiration of the people of Ghana, we will decide on who to present to the people of Ghana for a new mandate.
On the matter of Galamsey, that's going to be our next conversation right now. And Daryl Boss is going to be joining us. He was at that meeting yesterday with the president and together with Franklin Kujo as well. But there are quite a number of your messages which we'll get into. Musa Dankwa, the global lead for Global Info and Alexis. This one from lawyer Eduji Tamaklo says, good morning, Alfred, and to your esteemed panelists. I became worried listening to my senior Kwebu. I know Kipo, the Director General of the National Intelligence Bureau, a consummate investigator with over 30 years' experience. I reached out to him personally for the reasons for the detention. The gentleman in question was arrested on Friday, the 26th of September, for inciting the Gonjas and the Brefo people, leading to the death of about 31 people. We presented him before the court on Monday, 29th September, at the Accra Circuit Court 2, but the judge was on leave, and we were sent to Circuit Court 3. The judge asked to see the charge sheet, adjourned the case to the following day, Tuesday, 30th September. On Tuesday, 30th September 2025, we were in court, and we are informed the judge had gone to the bench conference, which had started on the 29th of September. The case was again adjourned to 6th October. So it is never the case that, and this one is a forwarded message from the said National Intelligence Bureau Director. So I'm reading it verbatim. It says, it is never the case that we intentionally abused the man's right. Before the 48 hours ended, we presented him before the court, and it was no fault of the NIB that the judges were on conference and the case was not heard on time. Martin Kpebu then insists on the BNI granting the suspect bail. That's the point of disagreement. To suggest that he is doing so because of his stomach is not fair. On the 6th of October, the accused will be in court and the judge will decide. The situation in Benin is very fragile. It has led to the displacement of many Ghanaians to Ivory Coast. Says he will plead.
No, listen, Mr. Kipo should stop
with Senior Martin to
incompetence.
exercise
This
small,
is crass incompetence. Let's explain. Let's explain. What even Eduji said. Eduji, I don't know. Eduji, did he really read? No, wait. Please, we are educating the public. We are educating. I'm not sure Eduji read it. He just, let's say, look, the Supreme Court says 48 hours is 48 hours. Please, those offenses are bailable.
Okay.
They are bailable. You took him on Friday. You arraigned him in court on Monday. It's wrong. He's supposed to be arraigned on Sunday. I have gone to court on Saturdays, public holidays, etc. The Chief Justice Eni Yebu at the time rolled out the roadmap, how it is implemented. You call the registrar of the court. Then the registrar would see which judge will sit on Saturday or Sunday. That is our law. About 9 years, or how many? No, not 9, 2019. At least 6 years ago. Please. I'm not sure did you read. No, let's continue, please. Let's do the education. I told you, Kipo needs training. Kipo needs training. I'm coming. Yes. I told him this. I told Charles Kipo this about 3 days ago. So you don't type such a message. His people are not well trained. So he should have gone to check that, this same people is saying that, no, you were supposed to arraign him on Sunday. Is it true? Is it true that they rolled it out? Because this of Kufu's last judgment, what we call her valedictory judgment, that 48 hours is 48 hours. So call the registrar. If you had called in to go all the way to Bafuboni, Chief Justice, that is the law. The law is the law. And then let's come. You see what they said. I'm very happy that, let's come. They said the judge adjourned it to Tuesday. The judge didn't remand the accused. The judge didn't remind. I'm not sure the judge didn't read it. This is incompetence. Crass
as you have stated, and then they respond.
And other lawyers have said we made it is that BNI just
Alfred, all I have to say is that we don't have to discuss this only as a legal matter. I do know the trouble that my colleague, the Member of Parliament for Solar Tuna Kalba, is currently going through as a result of the conflict in the Benin area. So we have to look at this in the context of the conflict and the threat that is involved, and also in the context of how our judiciary works. Because when I also, checked around, just as you made the point, I noticed that the claim that is made, and I can't say if it is correct, is that they actually took the suspect to court the first time, but the judge was not around.
Yeah.
They went the second time, the judge is still not around. So, that's why I'm saying we should discuss this also.
There are other courts, there are more than 10. Let's get it. There has to be a remand warrant. The judge didn't remand. And that's a serious constitutional matter.
I get that.
The Supreme Court looked at all
of these things that you have raised are very genuine and genuine. But we also have to look at the concern of the security agencies who are worried about what can happen in the area and what is still happening in the area.
But I agree. The time you're in opposition, these same things. We weren't saying just security.
I am not disagreeing with you at all. I'm saying that we should look at your views, but we should not also ignore the views that others are raising.
It's a ruse. I'm telling you.
That's the point I'm simply making. I'm saying that, look, the security situation in the area is still very volatile.
The man is not
very volatile.
It's around Road area. I'm telling you. We looked at that. They mentioned it, and we said we will know when to keep him.
Yes. So it's since
please,
you mentioned
let's stop abusing people's rights in the name of security.
We're just going to get into the other issues. Thank you. It's some 22 minutes to the top of the hour. Now, Al-Hassan Suhini mentioned Galamsey and matters arising. Also joining us in the studio, Daryl Bosu is the Deputy National Director of Arocha Ghana. He was at the meeting with the president. And Franklin Kujo is the founding president of Imani Africa. He's joining us on Zoom right now. Mr. Kujo, good morning.
Pleasure to be here. Good morning, my good friends in the studio.
Perfect. Also joining us, Daryl, good morning. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning, Alfred, and good morning to the esteemed panelists here. I've been listening to this morning session, quite interesting. I'm not really into the matter with the politics, but it was really good to follow and see how it works. So it's good that we're also now switching to a very critical issue also of national interest. So I think I'm very happy to be here. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you for joining us. Now, before we move on, I just want to put some matters to rest. Mr. Kujo, did Imani conduct any survey recently that indicated, the results indicated a total erosion of the goodwill of the 9-month-old NDC administration led by John Mahama?
Oh no, not at all. I think we said there was some significant, what word? We use a particular word, disaffection. No, it doesn't a word in that regard.
Goodwill. You said you are
Well, it doesn't goodwill, but we did say that I forgot it, but for lack of a better word, what it meant was that the satisfaction people had from the beginning is actually waning, and which obviously should be looked into. And I think in one regard, one of the figures we came up with, by the way, this was not the poll. You see, in a strict sense, not a poll, because what we do, by the way, is we create, it's an AI created system that we bought, quite expensive, that crossed almost all Ghanaian owned social media handles from all the social media handles across. So we are talking about 36 million accounts, including Ghanaians in the diaspora, by the way. And then we also aggregate views or sentiments across non-social media websites, like your own 3FM and then the Magellan and the rest. So in some regard, you want to call it a poll, but in actual fact, it's sentiment. The reason why I'm saying this is because what we found out was that there was some general reduction in the affection for the NDC party, and I think we put that down to a number of factors like the unemployment issues, the issues around some people who were sacked from work and they are still not able to find work, and even Galamsey, right? I mean, Galamsey also played a role in that particular sentiment analysis.
I see.
Plus, generally there are a few other things, but it wasn't significant at all. I think they had lost probably close to a third of the should I call it of the goodwill. That's what we found. So,
and you say it wasn't significant because the exact statement, and the reason why I bring you in, the exact statement by Dr. Zato is that you had conducted a poll, and the outcome of the survey was that this administration in the last 8 months has had their goodwill eroded, as in lost. And he says, you, Imani, did this poll. Did you do this poll that brought out this outcome, any outcome of a sort, that there's a total erosion? I think that was the expression, the total erosion of the goodwill of this administration.
Well, if you qualified it that way, I think total may be a bit of maybe too much, maybe exaggerated. I think we can say that there's some reduction in the how do you call it, in the affection for the party, but it wasn't total erosion, not at all. Total would have meant that they were doing somewhere around maybe 30% or thereabout. But I think we saw close to 60% as of now. Well, somewhere
you'll find another way to wriggle out.
Okay, well, thank you. Thank you very much. I just needed you to clarify, because the integrity of Imani was on board this morning against the integrity of the statement of Dr. Zato. So now you have clarified your position. and emphatically stated that this is not the case.
No,
Thank you.
no. Alfred, that's not what he said.
No.
Don't bend your credibility.
No. Listen,
For these things.
okay, let's not go any further.
You have a long way to go in this political
That's not what he said.
he has-
said about 60%.
he has-
and the only
he has-
thing that can keep you going is your integrity.
If after 8 months you've lost 60% of your integrity,
So,
of your
Dr. Zato,
popularity.
I think safeguarded.
Safeguarded.
Let's say 60%.
I think you let's save yourself.
Safeguarded.
Let's have this
Safeguard your
conversation
integrity.
beyond this.
If you
I
to save
think-
myself, no. You see, I
hold
don't-
on, gentlemen, hold on. That's okay.
It's the only thing you have
made
going
this
for you
I get
in
what
this
it- okay.
public space.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yo.
Now, let's hear the president yesterday when he met the CSOs on this Galamsey matter. Take a look.
One of the important successes is the change in the whole issue of excavators. Excavators came in huge quantities, and I remember that at a point under the previous administration, they asked that permits be gotten before excavators are imported. Meanwhile, the law did not say you should get a permit after, but that was what we came to meet, that you bring the excavator, then you go to the Ministry of Transport and ask for a permit. But the law actually says that you must get a permit before you import the excavator. And so now we're enforcing that law. And so you can't bring an excavator in, you can't put it on a ship, and we're telling the shipping agencies, if you bring an excavator for which there's no permit, we shall penalize you, the shipping agency, for carrying that excavator here to Ghana. What are we doing to the kingpins? Because most of those 1,400 who have been arrested are young youth who are looking for something to be able to look after themselves. And we'll prosecute them, we'll imprison them. But those who run those operations are the ones that we must be arresting and imprisoning, not these little boys. And so we need to change our strategy. We can arrest the boys and all that. And I think that even if we send them, they should be given a leaner sentence by the judge, a slap on the wrist. But those who must be given, there's no slap on the wrist. What's the least sentence?
That's the president there. Darrell, you are at this meeting. Did this meeting tick the box for you, the expectation that you went into this meeting with, or it's another round table, or it's a talk shop conversation with very little conviction that something different and far-reaching was going to be done in the fight against Galamsey?
Alfred, so yes, I'm very happy that we're coming back to this topic and this issue. As you all know, we've been dealing with Galamsey for a long time. I would say, in this very current state of we seeing it as a crisis, it's almost a decade. And if you look at this convening, let me just try to respond to you directly. We actually went in not expecting much. I must be frank with you. You realize that we deliberately refused to even communicate. There were a lot of calls from media asking, what are your expectations? We said, look, we are going in with an open mind because we don't know what the president is going to say. And with that also, we weren't really keen on getting any real pronouncement from this particular. But I think what really happened, let's be frank, was that this serves the opportunity for the president to update the state, everybody, citizens, on where we are now. The state of Galamsey, the fight against Galamsey, the actions and efforts they are putting in place, and whether we are getting results or not. But I think also that if you look at the way the whole meeting was done, I felt it was as if the president was meeting with the media. But this was, you were going to meet CSOs. CSOs are not people who will take the information and just ask you 1 or 2 questions and then you say, okay, we are done with the meeting. It was almost like a 3-hour meeting, the way it panned out. And so I thought that, wait, we could have had more time to engage, but we saw that it was almost like the way the president meets the media. So you are invited, a lot of the sector ministers debrief on issues, on work they are doing, and then you ask, I think questions were about 10 or maybe 11 questions were asked by our own colleagues and all of that, and that was it. And then it was followed by the president's briefing. After that, no further comments, nothing, and then we're gone. And that's why I'm saying that it was more of a briefing, giving us information on what was happening across the fight against Galamsey, but not really an opportunity to engage the president and say, look, yes, you've made this point, but this is also some of the issues we've seen on the ground that will really mean that we need to relook at these strategies. And so for me, I think that, yes, we were all there, a lot of us were there, but we didn't get opportunity to really ask the very fitting questions that we really wanted. And also for a lot of the questions that were asked, we didn't see responses that really address the issues. And I say this because, look, I think most people, when it comes to this discussion, were looking forward to the president making some pronouncement on the call for the state of emergency. And I must indicate here that we as a coalition and also civil society have significantly moved on, particularly when the president met the media and said that, look, as a country, we are not there yet. So we were not going there expecting him to make any new pronouncement regarding the state of emergency. But I think what we also needed to hear from the president at this crucial meeting was that, look, you are saying that we are not there yet. Citizens therefore needed to be given some clear benchmarks and milestones that you think as a president will trigger. But I think the best we got was the fact that, look, I need to get some feedback from the National Security Council before I can be able to speak to this matter.
Yeah.
That did not respond to us. And I must say that I have quite a tall list of quite a lot of issues that I know that the president, the session or the meeting really brought out. And as we speak to these issues and we go ahead, I will want to lay them out as we go, because they talked about, we're working on 5-point areas that they were focusing on. Talk about stakeholder engagement, regulatory reforms, law enforcement, livelihood and sustainability.
Yeah.
And these are some of the issues that the president or the discussion touched upon. A lot of the briefing we received was all on these areas. But I think one thing I must say about this meeting with the president, he did acknowledge some mistakes. And that for me was a good side of the president in admitting that the early strategy of just pushing out or rolling out the military to go to the sites and try to clamor out these illegal miners did not go as planned. And that is why they had to re-strategize and come to now what I see as the government's main trump card, that's the NIMOS unit, which has been set up to really ensure that they go on the ground with boots, with men and women with boots on the ground to ensure that they deal with this canker. So I think it's for me a good side of it. But largely, there were too many promises.
Too many promises.
Too many promises, because these were also promises we had before the government took office. And in the early months, I'll say, couple of months when they were in office also, they reiterated these promises. And still, these promises are still on the table. We have not seen them being addressed, and these promises are still yet to be, addressed. So for me, there are still too many promises. Some of them are very good. We are certain about it. But it's about time we see the president of the land really live up to these promises and commit to them and really deal with them. They are very fundamental to we achieving very good results and outcomes in the fight against Galamsey. So far, from the discussion, a lot of activities, a lot of efforts are in the way, but are we there yet? That is a big no. So I think we really need to look at that aspect of it. And even though many have said, the president has had just 9 months, are we not expecting too much? But the truth is, coming from the crisis that we are faced with, and knowing that this government has all the power, and even within their own caucus, they agree that, look, the way this issue is, if we had the power, if we had all the authority, we would solve it in a few weeks and all of that. We should have seen more of these things being done. And that is why we think that a lot more could have been done within this 9 months. That has not been done. And going forward, I think that the promises are many. We need to see them being addressed as we move along. That is the only way we are going to win the fight against Galamsey.
I see. And you talk about the period that this administration has been in office. I think that was one of the references. The president did indicate that they know or this administration knows that this is a fight that will not or cannot be won within this first 8-9 months? Is it a point you contest, or you think that a lot more this fight could have been won within this period, the last 8-9 months?
No, I think we agree that it is not a fight that you are going to be able to wake up one day and then just shoot a bullet and you deal with it. It's something that must be progressive. But we are looking at how progressive it's been within the period, the 9 months that we were talking about. Look, if you compare the fight against Galamsey to how quickly the government was able to roll out things like the gold board and all of that, I expected several regulatory reforms. And General Galamsey, which was also going to deal with a lot of the impunity on the ground, should have been done by now. We had issues with LI 2462, and then even the review of Act 703 and all of that. We're talking about excavators being restricted in terms of imports and all of that. We are talking about tagging, licensing of excavators. All of these things could have been done by now and concluded and already operational. It's 9 months. Gold Board is actively in place, already raking in a lot of, I'll say, revenue for the country, and even giving money for people to be arrested for, being involved or escaping arrest and all of that. But we are still struggling with some of these fundamental regulatory reforms that are critical to ensuring that the fight against Galamsey is on a good track to being addressed. So for me, this is where we have a problem with. 9 months is quite a long time to have seen that some of these regulatory reforms are in place. And now let me also mention this. The government's drum card, like I said, for this fight against Galamsey, you can clearly see is going to rely a lot on the work of NIMOS in the coming months.
Yeah.
But even with
you
NIMOS...
You see them on the screen right now, going to this Galamsey site, burning some of their equipment and so on.
Exactly. Even with NIMOS, Alfred, they don't have the resources to deploy. Last week, the Honorable Minister for Lands and Natural Resources declared that our forest reserves and rivers are security zones. But Alfred, NIMOS is not even deployed to these security zones. So what is really the implication of you announcing that areas are security zones, but there's no security in place? So these are, for me, the keys. Are we really ready, as we say, to really fight this canker? And that is where the problem is.
And you say you don't see the readiness?
If you look at other sectors of the economy and how the government has been very proactive and all of that, the critical aspect of the fight against Galamsey and the readiness measures that we should have seen by now, I think we are still talking about. And that's why I said a lot of good promises, but we are not seeing them being fulfilled. And this is where it makes us really uncomfortable and really also kind of start getting frustrated by the way the government claims that they are really committed to addressing the fight against Galamsey.
Well, there's one issue that people came up in a different form, but it's still in connection to the 48-hour rule that you've been passionately and consistent about. We abiding by the details of that particular rule, not because you, together with the like-minded persons, got our jurisprudence to appreciate why this is important. The Attorney General referenced it as, in his word, not a challenge per se, but it's an issue they have to deal with, even with the fight against Galamsey. But this is what government identified as the root cause of Galamsey. This is a presentation that was done by the Minister in charge of Lands and Natural Resources yesterday when you were there with him to meet the president. And it says limited awareness of environmental and health risk associated with Galamsey contributes to its prevalence. Weak enforcement of the mining regulations allow illegal activities to flourish. They also talk about the issues. Next, you have the unemployment, poverty, and limited access to opportunities drive many to engage in illegal mining as a means of livelihood. Corruption among political officials and law enforcement agencies exacerbates the problem and undermines our effort to combat this menace. So, government acknowledges that there is some element of the persons who are benefiting from this being in the political class. As to what is being done to address it is another matter altogether. Do you see anything extensive being done to address this particular issue? Because this is a root cause that they have seen. They know the corruption among the political officials
And Alfred,
in the fight against Galamsey.
I think you're very right. I mean, I was discussing with Ken sitting by me when this was put on the screen. They were like, wait, point 2 and 4 should be the top. Should actually be just the root causes of why we have Galamsey with us. The other issues are really there, but point 2 and 4, point 2 is about weak enforcement of regulations, and then 4 is on corruption among political officials and law enforcement agencies. That for us is why we are here. The crisis we are confronted with is all because of point 2 and point 4. Everything else is really very much of an underlying problem, which is kind of systematic.
The point 2 being the weak enforcement
of mining regulations.
I see. And then the point
that's
4.
And then point 4, which has to do with corruption of political officials and law enforcement. I mean, there are people, whether there is jobs or not, people in many communities are really struggling to find livelihood, and some are struggling to find jobs and all of that. But I say this is because if you talk about, say, 15 years ago, and you're asking about, when people are talking about job opportunity, nobody will have thought about going to do Galamsey with the kind of impunity we see now. People will be thinking about getting a piece of land, going to do cocoa farming, or going to do some other agricultural enterprise to generate revenue. But now, if you go to the communities and if you ask them, if I give you resources, what will you do? Nobody will think about agriculture anymore. They will think about going to do gold mining, because we are very weak in terms of enforcing the regulations around the mining. And then also there's a lot of complicity of politically exposed persons, or even sometimes people in office, who are actually making sure that we are not able to really rein these issues in. So it is really the fact that some of these causes are really responsible for what we are faced with. But point 2 and 4 are the major reasons why we are faced with this crisis, and leading to our water bodies, our forest reserves, our food systems, and health being put at risk, not only for generations now, but also for the future generations.
People, I hear the Minister in charge of Land Resources talk about the review of the mining laws. That's to respond to that point 2 that you referenced. And then also, LI 2505 will now be tabled before Parliament to...
No, actually, LI 2501 is the amendment of LI 2462. Yes.
So 2462 will be repealed.
Yeah.
When Parliament resumes.
Yeah.
And that would now be replaced by LI 2501. That is the amended.
But Alfred, I think that is very curious, because it's not gone to Parliament yet. So how are we able to determine already that the new repeal act, the repeal LI would be 2501? Are we able to tell that already? Who knows? It's a lawmaking process, and there might be another law that might come even before that. So how do we even know that it's really going to be 2505? It's quite strange for me.
Okay.
On this one, quickly.
Yeah. So yes, in terms of the amendment and repeal, okay, what it is that, even before this particular meeting, it had already been said that there will be a repeal of the law. So this is not the place the president is making the first pledge. I think it came in some weeks ago. And even prior to some weeks ago, they promised that the whole LI will be repealed. For me, what really got me, right, and on the president's side was that soon after he won, the 120-day promise, I think in there somewhere, they said it. They're not going to do any more mining in forests. And that is very key. Very, 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 very key. So it's like, stop the bleeding. You see, we're already bleeding. Akufo-Addo was issuing mining leases willy-nilly, especially in the forest reserve. We know how many times I've mentioned the Tiwa forest case. And Daryl is one of my clients. That's Arocha, 2019. When they said, no, they need jobs. So let's go into the Tiwa and mine anyhow, right? But when the president took over, for me, the key thing is that he's promised, at least I've heard it not less than 3 times, where he's promised that there would be no mining in the forest. And that's huge. That is a huge step forward, right? And so, you know that even the 9 forest reserves that the Galamseyers were in, we took them back. Then the Galamseyers went back into 2. Then we went in back and flashed them, right? So my point is that and now we have permanent security forces stationed there. And I always like to invoke Article 210 to say that it's the police duty, because Article 210 says that soldiers are for external aggression and other developmental needs. And if you go to 200, it says the police is to maintain law and order, right? So once now we have permanent presence in these 9 forests, for me, I think we should, well, short of saying celebrating, I think we should commend the government for it, because, you know, when you do that, then they see that we are following the conversation. That's how come for me. I saw that yesterday's engagement was very positive.
Yeah.
Because initially some people I said, oh, it's a talk shop, it's needless. I said, how? It's for you to go and make a new pitch to the president. Like we say locally, we sit here and talk. He hasn't seen you in person, but when you go and then you have an opportunity to make a new pitch, you see that even the arguments get refined. Because yesterday, one thing I followed was that, you know, hitherto we had all been talking about turbidity. But yesterday, Ken Ashibe moved the conversation forward and said, Mr. President, it's not just about turbidity, but the quality, the best measure.
There's a water quality index.
Thank you. So you see how now the conversation is moving forward. So those who said, no, it's a talk shop, it's needless, spoke too early. How many times we started reading the Bible as kids? Are we still not reading the Bible? And for that matter, also the Quran and the Torah and all the other religions. So sometimes I think we should hasten slowly. So for me, the taking over of the 9 forests is a key step forward. And before even that, number 1 is the fact that no more mining licenses, mining leases, etc. in forest reserves. That's the big ticket. It's the big ticket, because that is stopping the bleeding. Then we've taken over some of the forests. So saying that the LI will be
not some. I think there was an update from the NIMOS commander that the 2 that were lost out of the 9 have been reclaimed.
Exactly,
so
I mentioned
all
it.
9.
All 9, yes. So it means that we've made 11 attempts, right? So that is progress. And so what we need, and I keep saying, is that perhaps can we get a daily update? Maybe 9 more should be.
Yes.
They promised it.
Monthly. No, they
Not
didn't
daily.
promise.
So that let's
was a
know
question
today.
that was asked.
Yeah.
Yes, because that's what we've been saying here. Because you remember this permanent presence in the forest, etc. We advocated for it here. Initially, I remember some of the people in your team were saying, "Oh, it's impossible. No, go and shoot and kill and etc." But eventually, the president and his team saw that no, let's put permanent people there, because you are coming to the forest and then you see that police vehicles are there. How are you going to continue? How are you going to continue? It's common sense that you've seen that the police are there. How are you going to continue? And so far, we see that no, the Galamseyers don't go and start shooting our police. Right? Thank God that's not the thing. Because some were saying send in soldiers because soldiers will create more fear. No. I think our people are being civil enough, and we are grateful that, yes, though they have arms, usually the arms are for their protection against robberies, etc., but not to harm our security agencies. So we are grateful for that. So now that we have the permanent forest, still answering your question. So for me, the repeal is like the icing on the cake. That's just the final thing. It's not the beginning, because the president announced cessation of mining in the forest long before. And he even, to be honest with you, see, sometimes because of the way the advocacy is done, because we don't have enough time. Look, what happens is that the moment they took out that particular part, the first thing about the mining in the amendment. Section. Yes, the rest could have stayed until we are ready to do an overhaul. But I see sometimes in the advocacy, people just say, no, repeal the whole thing, repeal the whole thing. I didn't support it like that, because you have to put in a new framework. But I know sometimes the majority carries the vote. So you don't want to be saying things every time against the grain. But really, my point is that this repeal, it's not as if the repeal is going to bring anything new. Because let's remember that currently there are a few mining companies that were giving leases to mine in some forests. You know, Newmont, etc. They are in some forests. So you need this current law to regulate them. But sometimes, you know, it's just like the way we jumped onto the bandwagon. Oh, state of emergency, as if it was a magic wand. Then eventually, as the education started trickling in, we saw that, it's not just about state of emergency. Whatever we can do now, we can do. The law doesn't stop us to putting more NIMOS and blue water gas officials on the ground. That's basically putting more boots on the ground, etc. Nothing stops us. We don't need a declaration of the state of emergency before we start taking action. And this one, let me tell you a two-line story. I'm not good at storytelling, but let's try this. Professor Kumado, our venerable professor, constitutional law expert, this in the 70s, when they were in Commonwealth Hall, they used to entertain their female guests in their rooms in the night. Then, long story short, it came to a point, the hall authority said, no more female guests in the halls in the night. So they decided to go on an aluta. Then they got there, hall master came out and asked them one question. He says, so what entertainment can you have at night with your female guests that you cannot have during the day?
Right.
So meaning that we are not banning your entertainment. Yeah. It's just the time that we are banning. Don't do it at night. So meaning daytime you can have it. You can have it. Then he said, they started looking into each other's face. What is he saying? What is he saying? Then that was the end of the demo. So that's the same thing. That was the end of the demonstration, meaning I just changed the time. So it's the same thing with this Galamsey fight. People were talking as if until we declare a state of emergency, we can't take drastic measures. I was like, how? The laws, and the president was very clear. We have all the laws. We've not yet finished deploring. And you're saying state of emergency. How? As we speak now, we've not declared state of emergency. But Amakufibua, NIMOS, the water guards, they are in there. The police are in there. We've made 11 attempts in respect of the 9 forests. We've banned mining in forest reserves, etc. Did we need a state of emergency before we start acting? You see? So for me, what we need, Daryl, maybe we should have that perhaps after 3 months, you make another appeal to meet the president. Let the dialogue continue. That's participatory democracy. Because in coming to meet you, I'm sure the president would have even asked for an update from NIMOS, etc. Then he thinks about ways to improve the fight. Yes, so it's by all means, let's continue the communication, the vigilance, because the more citizens stay vigilant and then hold duty bearers to account, then the better the outcomes. But I'm hoping that so now it's clear to us that we'll stop the rhetoric on state of emergency. Okay.
Right. Well, but the Attorney General raised concerns about how he's having to deal with the 48-hour rule, because some illegal miners who are arrested are granted bail after 48 hours. And they go back to the pit to go and mine. And they are arrested again.
Like they
have to be
he said they should bring them to Accra. So he changed the venue.
Let's hear the Attorney General say, and maybe you propose as to how this can be dealt with. Because he's also thinking about what
case.
Yes. So let's take a look at this.
And that looks like a problem Martin created.
I don't know why you say it's a problem.
Arrest. About 1,400 arrests. Now, the biggest problem we've had with the arrest is the 48 hours rule. Constitutional principle that we must bring them before the courts within 48 hours. Most of the judges have been granting them bail. So I remember the point that was made by Colonel Boa. When we arrested 9 people in Kumasi, he called me and I told him that immediately place them before the court and then ask for them to be detained so that we do our investigation. When they appeared before the court, Your Excellency, they were granted bail. Okay? Then they went back. He was very good in monitoring them. They went back into the forest. So I told him that even despite the fact that they've been granted bail, because they have gone back into the forest, they've committed a new offense. I asked him to arrest them, but to bring them to Accra, instead of placing them before a court in Kumasi. And I'm dealing with them now. They are in detention. We will not release them. We will make sure that even if the High Court says we should grant them bail, we'll go to Court of Appeal and go to the Supreme Court to ensure that we hold them until the dockets are prepared and then we send them to court. Currently, we have initiated prosecutions in 60.
So it says some 65 dockets. In fact, and the 65, not just for one. There are others that covers 10, 28 illegal miners as well. So in total, some 600 illegal miners are going through the process as well as we speak. Now, that concern of the 48-hour rule and having to be granted bail and then they go back to the pit to go and mine.
Yeah.
How can this be dealt with? Right? Quick one.
So, well, without hearing more about the facts, okay, it appears what the Attorney General did is partly correct. But if you ask me, yes, so let's develop that further. So he got frustrated and said, okay, now bring the suspects to Accra so that the prosecution will be done in Accra. I don't know how sustainable that would be because, you see, asking them to travel all the way every time from Kumasi is going to create some problems. But as I've said, I don't know all the facts. But they could have stayed in Kumasi, and then this time their behavior will be brought to the attention of the court. And no, I mean, judges are also part of our society. Once they see that, hey, Krachi, you were granted bail and this is what you went back to do, sometimes you would not be readily granted bail. You remember the, what do you call it?
So there are circumstances that the 48-hour rule would not strictly apply.
It's not. It's actually even an amalgamation of the 48-hour rule and the non-bailable offenses. Right. So that's non-bailable is payable number 2, and then the 48-hour rule is payable number 4. So the non-bailable one says every offense is bailable, right? And so once the person meets, subject to the discretion of the judge. So if you present enough, you make a good offer to the judge that, look, this and this and this reason. So I'm married, I have children, I'm gainfully employed, maybe we have this and this sureties, etc. And the offer looks good. The judge takes it and will grant you bail. But once you're granted bail and you go out there and willy-nilly return to it, the second time is difficult. It's difficult. You remember, Oliver, when the previous administration, you know, we did the demonstration the year before, and then subsequently there was another one. So you see that the second time getting bail for him, eventually they had to go to the High Court. It was a bit difficult because we were using this thing that, Oliver would, that's Oliver Bakavoma, would go out and do the same thing, commit the same crime, etc. But I see that even eventually with that one, he was admitted to bail. That particular thing, that because we granted you bail and you went back, we should ipso facto deny you bail. The courts don't accept it totally. They review it. After a while, bail is granted. Now let's look at this. What the Attorney General was saying. Obviously, it is not a case where we have the police there. Now we have presence in the 9 forest reserves. Has anybody come to say the Galamseyers have returned? So it tells you that that particular case is referring to, we don't have police and other NIMOS presence. Because how were these Galamseyers going to go past them? That's why I said, you know, Dr. Aine, let's understand this. My good professor, Aine is a good guy. You see, it's a public pressure, so he has to also, you know, adapt a bit. Because I can tell that table number 2, okay, that's a non-bailable. Aine was even more passionate about it more than me. I came and met Aine with it, attempting to do something, but he was busy. So eventually when we did it, he gave me some suggestions, add this, add that. He made an input. I see. Yes, Dr. Aine made an input when we were going to court. So it's not as if he's interested in just incarcerating people, but he also sees there's enormous public pressure. So Charlie, sometimes you have to play a bit to the gallery. But I'm saying that if we had permanent police presence there and NIMOS guards, these people could not have returned. They could not, because so far we've not heard any story that we have our policemen and NIMOS at any vantage in any particular Galamsey area, and the Galamseyers have returned and penetrated that wall, that fortress. No. So maybe we'll appeal to Dr. Aine that after a while return them to Kumasi, because the best is rather to have the people in their localities so that the cost of, you know, going to court, attendance, etc. will be reduced, because we should not unnecessarily burden the citizen. Yes, we are supporting the fight, and that's what we are doing here. Like you say, we are supporting it, except that, you know, like a human rights angle is also very important, because let's not forget those who were asking for the shoot to kill. Last week was when I left here that somebody reminded me the case of Major Mahama. You see how the Galamsey fight, yes, when they were helping to protect. But because the citizens saw him, suspected that he's rather part of the Galamseyers, we all know what happened. So let's hasten slowly. Let's continue to keep the laws whilst we fight vigorously, whilst we fight robustly, because we support the government that it must be fought. We are all drinking the same water, right? So if any tragedy comes, it will wipe all of us. So we are supporting the fight. It's just that let's also continue to follow due process. Otherwise, we'll cause some trouble, and then that's the one we say that the cure is even worse than the disease.
Indeed. And you see, the Catholic Bishops' Conference was at this meeting as well yesterday. They, in their statement, acknowledged what has been done and what they expect to be done. And the President references, together with the Minister for Lands and Natural Resources, a number of things that have been done, including the thousands of people who have been arrested, excavators that have been impounded, over 1,000 pumps as well, that's water pumps, and then also the tracking of excavators. And I think that's the one of the major takeaways as well. Darrell, you referenced that in our earlier conversation, that now excavators are going to be tracked. So get to know where it is and what it is being used for, as against the previous situation as we had it, that excavators were not tracked. Dr. Zato, does this reflect the will to end this canker once and for all?
Thank you very much. I just wanted to clarify something. At the beginning of this government's term, the Interior Minister announced a policy of deporting foreigners caught in Galamsey, that they will not be prosecuted. Has that policy been revoked? Has it changed?
It hasn't
It
hasn't changed.
It hasn't changed.
No.
So it means that if you are a foreigner, you are caught doing Galamsey, we'll buy you a one-way ticket to go back home. But if you are a Ghanaian, you're caught and you are doing Galamsey, we'll prosecute you and probably jail you. So that is the current policy still.
Are you sure?
In fact,
I'm asking. That's why
I think Muntaka has, he came to clarify. I'm remembering that he came to clarify.
That was asked yesterday.
Yeah, he came to clarify.
So Darrell, you were at the meeting as because there was a specific question on this. And
Yes.
there was a response to the effect that there hasn't been any policy direction in that
Well,
regard.
yes, I think in response to that, it was said that it is not a government policy, but
Exactly.
an administrative arrangement
So
that is in place. But
that's just the clarity.
But
that
that is still to say that it has not changed.
it has not changed.
It's still the way they treat foreigners as per the administrative whatever they have in place now.
So that means
Muntaka was there. But
Yeah, he was at the
and he said
meeting.
So I
he
just
still
needed
continues.
that
He was at the
clarity
meeting. Yeah,
because
he was there.
it's
And it was also
actually
one key question one of our colleagues
Because it was
asked
a question
as well.
that was asked,
Exactly.
I remember.
And so it means
Yes.
that it's still something that is enforced.
So, under the current policies in this country, and especially at the Ministry of the Interior, if you are a foreigner, you can come into this country, you can pollute our waters, you can destroy, we can do everything. If we catch you, we will buy a ticket for you, put you in a plane or in a bus to go back home. If by the time we catch you, you have already exported all the money you've brought, if by the time we catch you, you have already sent all the money back home, it means that we will still, not only the fact that you've taken all the Galamsey loot back home, we will also still use the taxpayers' money to buy a ticket for you and take you back to your home country to go and enjoy the loot. Wow. Talk about policy confusion. How do you say that there is will to fight Galamsey when you are rewarding foreigners and even Ghanaians? If you catch somebody from my hometown, Tumu, doing Galamsey in Eche Forest, you jail him. After when you release him, you even give him a bus ticket to go back to Tumu. You don't care whether he's over or Fana, you don't care how he's going back to Tumu. But if he's a Chinese, after all the money he has made, after all the destructions he has made, you will still take him back to his own country and you tell me that it's a commitment. Look, please, Mr. Minister of the Interior, Mr. Government, Mr. AG, this policy, and remember, this policy came from somewhere. It emanated. I remember when Aisha Huang was deported. Right voices, genuine voices rose up to condemn it in a no uncertain term, and that was right. And that was what we did. Based on that we had the then presidential candidate saying that when he comes in, Aratik's ban. Today, why are we still treating aliens better and with kid gloves when they are destroying our country as much as that? Why do we hate ourselves so much that not only are we the ones drinking the polluted water in the forest, we seem to also be rewarding the foreigners? It's wrong. We should do that. So that policy, please, Mr. President, Mr. Government, part of the commitment to Galamsey must be said that we will treat all Galamseyers the same. Either we are sending all of them back home to their villages, or we are prosecuting all of them and jailing them. Don't treat foreign Galamseyers different from local Galamseyers. That's just a point. I'm glad the president met the civil society organizers yesterday. Whenever the president of the republic meets people to talk, it's good. I love it. It deepens our democracy, and it is that's the president demonstrating his democratic hallmarks. That's the president saying that, look, I don't have all the answers, so I might not have all the answers. And some of you might have all the answers. Come, let's talk. So I'm happy, whether it was a Photoshop, whatever it is, the fact that the halls of government, the seat of power was open to ordinary people. Some of the people that went there, that was the first time they went there. That was the first time. Have you been to a jubilee house before? You went there yesterday. Yes. So good for you. Some people go there. So I'm happy that people have gone there and they've spoken. The question then I want to say, what after this? In the first place, before this, we were never told what were the expectations or what were the objectives of that meeting.
I think the objective was captured in the letter of invitation. No. So, you said we were never told. We were never told. Yeah, but the objectives were.
It was okay.
Yes.
So now, what is the plan? Do we have a plan to implement the recommendations that come there? One, I want to see a social contract like the one the president signed when he came into power on Galamsey. I want to see the president say, "This is my social contract on Galamsey. I am His Excellency the President." One, that social construct should define what success in Galamsey means. Not what sometimes I tell my graduate students, define your concepts. Don't assume that I know what you are talking about. Right? What is your concept? If you say efficiency, what is your concept of efficiency and how is it being used in this context? One, the government or the president should define his concept. What is success to you? What will you take as success and what will you take as failure? Number one thing, I want the government to do that. Two, when do you think you can make that determination? Because when you give us a social contract, you say 120 days. And 120 days, you are counted to good people of the country. I was here, I applauded the president for that. So, Mr. President, when do you expect us to now say, okay, based on this timeline, you have achieved that set of objectives or you haven't? It's important because in public policy, when you leave everything hanging like that, then it will be difficult for us to hold you accountable when we don't know, one, what your success is, and two, when to hold you successful for that. Three, give us a detailed budget. I think somewhere they say we need a bigger budget. I like that. Budget is about resources. So the third thing I'm asking for are resources. That means budget and time. Tell us that, look, I need this amount of money. Even if it means taxing the people more to collect money to clean it, some people might agree. I'm not saying I will agree with that. Even if it means borrowing more money from the World Bank or the IMF to fight this, some people might agree. I'm not saying I will agree to that. But at the point is that, so without these three indicators, I don't see how we are moving the ball up the field. Without these three indicators, we don't see how we can then track and see how better you are doing. So for me, I want these things to be done. When they are done, it helps. Then thirdly, I come to the issue of the state of emergency. I still believe that we need a state of emergency and we need it now. Because it is within a context that we are discussing this. Mm-hmm. We are discussing Galamsey within the context of it being an existential crisis. When you say something is an existential crisis, you are saying that our very survival, not just as Ghanaians, that as a human species, is being threatened. When your very survival as a human being or as a species is being threatened, you adopt what I call an all-of-the-above approach. You don't go into your toolbox and select little tools and leave some tools there. You adopt what I call an all-of-the-above approach. That is why on this matter, I agree with the Ghana Catholic Bishops Conferences that we need a state of emergency. That's why I agree with the media coalition and especially Ken Asigbe made it clear we need a state of emergency. The state of emergency raises a complete new mindset. A state of emergency addresses a fundamental social and even a psychological issue that, for the first time, Islam declared war. When Osama bin Laden and his people hit the towers, the American didn't just say, okay, they declared a war on terrorism. And that war was, they used the military, they used intelligence, they used finance, they used everything. This is our 9/11. We should do that. And I'm also thinking about something. I remember the night that, the morning that these gallant 8 heroes died. The whole country was asking the question, what can we do in their memory? What can we do to make sure that what they were going there is not done in vain? I thought that the president or this meeting would have announced the Gallant 8 initiative or the Gallant 8 project, something in honor of them. And that thing should have gone something like this. In memory of these patriots, we are banning all surface mining for the next 2 years, for the next 1 year. A complete ban on it. We will take a huge financial hit, yes. But for the memory of these people, it's worth it. And then, if possible, we would go to this Galamsey site and we'll put monuments there celebrating these men who lost their lives. That was a perfect opportunity for the president to do that. We missed it. I don't think it's too late. So I agree with the Ghana Catholic Bishops' Conference. I agree with the Media Coalition. We still need to declare a state of emergency because it takes us to a different level. It takes us to the level where we now say that this is what we are doing. So that we don't seem to be choosing things when we know that this can work. Finally, I have not seen any plan to trace the funding sources of these Galamseyers. The small guys you arrest there cannot buy a bicycle, not alone an excavator. Who are those bringing these excavators into the forest? I want to see a system whereby the government can say that, look, when we find any excavator in the Galamsey site, we can take the number of that excavator. We can send that number to DVLA. DVLA can tell us that the excavator is registered to Martin Pebu. Martin, sorry, I know you don't have an excavator. Then we can go to the Bank of Ghana and say, Mr. Bank of Ghana, tell us all the bank accounts that Mr. Pebu has. I know it's a lot, but don't worry. And that is a trace. And then we can say that the state can then say that we have the fact that we found your excavator at a Galamsey site. We then have the power to believe that you are a Galamseyer. They will freeze your account. Now, there may be a lot of law to go through that. That's why I believe in a state of emergency. I believe that in the state of emergency, you can do these things without lawyers like this, Cameron.
But now, if you were to find it under the law, okay, you can freeze automatically.
So why are we not tracing people?
Can freeze.
So why are we not doing
that?
And
after a while, before they go to
So why are we not doing that?
So that's how we say it's good they met the president and then pushed.
So one of the things that came out in responding to this, I think the Minister for Lands and Natural Resources did indicate that excavators that have been brought into this country, at least since the inception of this administration, are being tracked. There's a tracker on all of them to trace.
So that's good.
Exactly what they're going to be used for.
So my point is that don't just track them. I'm saying relate the tracking to the owner, and then relate the owner to the owner's bank account, freeze that account.
That's now, if it's found.
If it's found, the moment you find, if you find my phone at the Galamsey site, you take it, and then you trace to my name, you freeze my bank account. There's nothing in the account, by the way. Then the onus of proof becomes on the person whose account is frozen. You now come and tell me why your excavator was at the Galamsey site and why we shouldn't freeze your bank account.
Yes, when it comes to money laundering, that's the law.
Thank you.
That's the law.
So look, if we are able to do this, that means that we are doing something. We are hitting at the finances of Galamsey. We're hitting at the finances of Galamsey because if we only catch the small boys and girls who from my village who have come here just to do Galamsey distance, we are not winning this war. So far, we have not hit the finances of Galamseyers. So far, the state has left Galamseyers to enjoy all their loot. Let's begin to hit where it matters. Let's begin to hit their pockets. Let's begin to hit their bank accounts. When you do that in the future, they will withdraw. Because see, Galamsey is an investment. If I spend, I don't know how much an excavator costs, let's say it costs $50,000 to import an excavator. That means that I'm trying to recover that money. If the next day the government freezes my bank account and I cannot pay the bank or somebody for the excavator, I won't import another one. I won't do that. So please, let's do this. And some of these are practical. Some of these we can do them tomorrow.
Yeah.
So we can, in fact, with all the excavator seas, we can generate those numbers today, and by tomorrow we can freeze all these accounts. In fact, you know what we can do with that money when we get it? We will give a large chunk of it to Mr. Sohoyene for the big push, so that you send a lot to my hometown.
Right. Then we can all the excavators, were they picked up at mining sites?
Yes, those that were picked up. We hear there are some that are impounded, right? From mining sites. Yeah. Those are them. Then we'll give a lot of the money to him to go to, and then we'll send some to the EPA to begin reclaiming the forest.
Now, you have to finish convicting them first before you distribute them.
Under a state of emergency, do we have to? Thank
that.
you. So you now see why I'm calling for a state of emergency. I'm calling for a state of emergency.
No state of emergency should allow that.
I want you to allow that. So I'm calling for
because there's a constitutional protection, Article 20, your property, okay, and 18. So they're the same.
The lawyers.
Thank you very much.
I'm believing that. Oh, let me hear that.
Yes,
I'm believing that. My point is, state of emergency will let us hate their finances. State of emergency will let us hate their investments.
You can use the law. Like I told you, what is it that you can do
So why
now?
haven't we done that then? My question. Why haven't we done that?
I think so far the president said
It will
they've deployed.
So my point, ultimately, in summary, define success, give us timelines for success, tell us the resources you will need, and begin to freeze bank account of Galamsey, those who fund Galamsey. If we do this, we will see that the tide will begin to change. Anything other than that, we are losing the war.
Well, and talk about the financiers, Alhaji Suhini, that was one of the major promises of this administration, correct? That you're going to not only arrest the people in the pit, but also deal with the financiers of illegal mining, Galamsey. How far has this administration gone with that?
Alfred, first of all, I think that there's a need for us all to fairly commend the organizers of yesterday's event. It was very well put together. The outlook was different from the talk shops that we have had in the past, where money sometimes, got expended for nothing. I mean, I recall back in the day where we went to regions, and to traditional authorities, organized big seminars and events that cost so much money. You recall that I even at a point shared some of the, amounts that were spent in organizing fora on Galamsey and how to deal with it. I remember at one point about 1.8 million Ghana cedis was spent on one event, and we had these events across the regions. In the end, I mean, we didn't get anything. But yesterday's event was simple. It was simple. I mean, and it was not, outside. It was not at like a hotel where you had to, or the conference center where you had. It was simple to the extent that it was for me like a classroom. And then you had the president like the classroom teacher, and saying, look, we have this topic to discuss. It wasn't like a lecture. It was like, the kind of lecturer who comes to the classroom and says, we are going to discuss this topic. That was the outlook I saw, and I thought that it was beautiful. It gave, the opportunity for everybody to freely express themselves when they were called. Not everybody had the time, though, because of, the time limitation that we had. But I think that the organizers really, really did a good job by the way it was put together. It brought all the different shades and different thoughts, together. And the presenters did a fantastic job, from the Minister of Lands and Natural Resources to the NIMOs and to the EPA. They all did a brilliant, presentation, up-to-date state of affairs as far as the government is concerned. And so I need to begin by commending those who put this event together and those who, did the presentations yesterday. And the questions that came out, then that is where I think that it's also very important that we commend CSOs like Darrell and Co. They have been very consistent on this matter. And it is admirable, the energy and the time that they spend on this, as if, their lives and livelihood depends on it. It's admirable. Yeah. I must admit.
Does, because Galamsey gets worse, we are out there.
I know, but so I agree with you that their livelihood, all of us, our lives actually depend on it. So I think that it is important that we commend them too for the consistency. And His Excellency the President, I am sure, was very grateful, and he remains grateful. I think yesterday, even after the event, if you go and read the post that he shared on his social media handles, he is asking for the pressure to be mounted on him. He says, keep me on my toes. I want us all to succeed. So as I commend them, I will reiterate the president's words that you must not, give up. You must not relent in your efforts as members of CSO, determined to support government and to put government on its toes to achieve the results that will save all of us, that will save even the generations that are yet to be born. But you see, in this conversation and in this fight, we must guard against, victories that don't add to anything. Victories, the lawyers call it, what do you call it? Something victory. Fleeting victory, something. You use a word.
Yeah, fiery.
Parry victory. Yes. I mean, we should guard against victories that impact nothing.
Okay.
And big declarations that don't mean much. Right. We should be focused on the deliverables that will really, really transform the current situation. It's not about whether I ask for a state of emergency and it has been declared. No. That shouldn't be about it. It shouldn't be about I want a president to declare that he's put his lives on the line, or his presidency on the line. We have heard that before. We have heard all those big declarations before. We have, and what happened? So we should guard against, victories, like I said, that will not impact anything. Okay, we have won. We have succeeded in getting the president to declare a state of emergency. And then what? But we should be looking at the measurables. We should be looking at the commitment to getting results that are, indeed meaningful to all of us. Look, yesterday when I was listening to it, a number of things came up. We all know that some of the problems we have had in the fight are legal. So the Attorney General was on standby to tell us some of the challenges. And also some of the approach that he is adopting with the government to deal with those challenges. So, for example, the challenge of, detention and the 48-hour problem. He says, that is a problem. This is how we are dealing with it. And that's not a promise. That's actually, part of the process of addressing the issue. It's not a promise. And so it shouldn't frustrate you. It should perhaps let you want to follow through and see how is he really resolving this problem. Then the issue of tribunals that he promised, that we are going to, that one is a promise. But he has also given an indication of how much work has been done so far. I think we should get closer and see how much work has been done so far and how much work is left to be done for the tribunals to really see the light of day. Because he says, I am working on the tribunals to ensure that we fast track some of the trials involving, people engaged in galamsey. Then the legal reviews that were required. He also talked about it and he agrees. And that's, again, something that must, encourage all of us. It is not as if the government disagrees that there should be a legislative review. The government agrees and assures that when Parliament resumes, LI 2462 will definitely be repealed. And in its place will be a new law. And he says, and we all know that in this country, it is the Attorney General and the Minister of Justice that monitors, the passage of these LIs and acts and also monitors the numbering. So he says, look, we are working, and when they start working LIs, when they start working on LIs at the AG office, they assign numbers to it. Even acts, they assign to it. But it is after the process. If that number is still going to be maintained, it is maintained. Sometimes it gets changed because some other legislations would have gotten passed before it. But it tells you the commitment that, look, we are going to pass it. We have drafted it. We are waiting for Parliament to come. And when Parliament resumes, we'll lay it. And after 21 days, it becomes law. And so let us wait. When Parliament returns, and then it is not laid for the days to start counting, then the president's invitation for you to put pressure on him is reactivated. Yeah. So I saw that, again, there is that commitment to prosecute, because the Attorney General told you how it was at first difficult to get, information on Akonta mines, and now the docket available, and his determination to ensure that by Monday he files charges against, the kingpin. And here we are talking about the kingpins again. That is also living the promise of ensuring that we do not just focus on the people on the pits, but those who are funding and financing it. That's a big. I mean, to tell you that we are going to begin prosecution of a company like Akonta Mining by Monday is no longer a promise of dealing with the kingpins. It's an initiation of the promise of dealing with the kingpins, and it has to be seen in that light. Yes, he's not the only one. And one is not enough, but let us go on. That is the beginning. Let us go on to ensure that we get more of these people to face the law. I was encouraged by that. And then again, he talks about, even reporting party members for investigation. And that tells you the level of political commitment that we have, where colleagues are even willing to submit each other to investigative bodies to either clear them. In fact, maybe some of you didn't even know that after the referral to the investigative body, a petition also came from the small scale miners. But he mentioned it yesterday. Yeah. That for me was additional information that look, we even got a petition and we have forwarded that. We are working with that petition also. Even though our colleagues are involved, we are not going to sweep this under the carpet. So that legal a framework in the fight was properly handled by the Attorney General. And I think that any fair-minded person should see the political commitment and the will and the desire to ensure that some of the bottlenecks when it comes to the legal issues are dealt with. Yes, we are 9 months in office. We will not be able to do all the things that have to be done in that field. But they say in Dagbani that forgive my use of the term. Martin understands. I mean, to wait, it is the initiation stage that if something will develop into a hernia. I don't want to go into that. but you see, so it is in this. Or as it is often said, that it is from the look of the chicken that that it will go into a cock or something. But that for me is something that we should not gloss over. Then the security concern also. So the legal aspect is there. Then you also have the security aspect, and NIMOS actually has given us, reason to believe that this time around the fight will be more deadly, even without the declaration of a state of emergency. I mean, they have given us that indication. And apart from that indication, which you can term a promise, they have also given us evidence of their determination by how they have so far recovered about 7 forest reserves, right? Or nine forest reserves.
They were taken, then they went back. So 11 attempts.
They have taken 9 forest reserves back. That should tell you. I mean, that's progress. I mean, if before 9 months ago, we could not enter 9 forest reserves in this country. That's dangerous. I mean, that's just like a rebel group taking over a section of this country. And so to tell you that within 9 months we have recovered these forests is not a promise. It is actually action driven. I mean, it is results driven by action. And it must be appreciated and supported. So they have taken back these forest reserves and they have given the indication that it is going to be deadlier this time around. And they're on the ground, actually, destroying these machines where like he said, in situ, when they cannot, take it out. And they have the political support. His Excellency the President says, look, even when they come and, advise him to declare a state of emergency, he will be willing to declare a state of emergency. And again, I mean, you have the man standing in front of the commander-in-chief of the Ghana Armed Forces and everybody and saying that, look, we are coming after everybody. It doesn't matter who you are. So when he comes to your side, who again are you going to call? Which minister are you going to call? Or which president are you going to call to ask him to stop, what he's doing, like we used to experience in the past? So I think that the security aspect also, we are assured that, the fight is going to be thorough, and it has started. I was happy the last time the president met the media persons. He spoke on the IGP team and how it has been put together with the NIMOS team. And I think that was a very good decision because you see, when you have parallel structures, especially armed and out there, you may not know what it can lead to, especially collision causes can happen. There may even be collusion and collusion at the same time can happen. So but where you have one central body with one control, center, then you know who to hold responsible when things go awry. But where you have different groups fighting at different angles, receiving their command from different places, you can get into issues of collision and collusion. And I think that it is good that they have put them together now. Then there's also the administrative bit of it. I mean, when I was listening to it, these were the structures I saw. The legal problems, the security issues, and then the administrative issue. And the administrative issue relates to the importation of excavators and how they are cleared, how they are tracked. And Dato, you see, made a very important suggestion, but clouded by, the political point scoring of, let's win by calling for a state of emergency. He misses the very good point that he makes. That, look, we can even go beyond tracking these excavators to tracking it to their owners and tracking it to their assets, including their bank accounts, and freezing it. I agree that it is a good suggestion that we can, that should be taken on board. But that is an administrative role of the Ministry of Transport and the Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources and IOCO, and then the ports all together. And clearly, we have also seen, again, that is not a promise, that action is being taken to streamline and if you like, clarify the process of importing an excavator and also monitoring the usage of excavators in this country. It is clear that it is not a promise. It is actually something that is being carried out today. And these excavators are not just going to be licensed, they are going to also be geofence, as we are told. And in some cases, some of them have already been geofenced. They have been tracked and they are put out there and they have been monitored. So it is not a promise. It's actually something that is also on the ground. The blue water guards are people that are on the ground, also serving their purpose. Yes, they are just at about 1,000, and we need more of them to be trained to ensure that they provide the services that they are providing. The licensing regime. I mean, we know that currently there is no license for anybody to mine in a forest reserve. That is an improvement. And the system is being monitored to ensure that nobody, grants a lease on the blind side of any authority to anybody to mine in any forest reserve in this country. In fact, even at the Minerals Commission, I don't know how many licenses have been issued since we came into office. Because it's become so tight that it is not like before where you could have like 200 and more being issued in 1 year. It's not like that anymore.
I see.
So that is progress that is being made that needs to be commended. And it is not for nothing that we have the turbidity levels of our water improving. Yes, the quality.
We can't say that.
No,
we can't come to that conclusion as yet.
Some have improved.
The presentation yesterday, the data showed.
Yesterday, we had serious issues with the data presented on the quality of water.
No. You see, I'm not talking about quality of water.
Yes.
That's the point I was going to make.
Exactly.
That's the point I was going to make.
Okay.
But that was going to be my second point. That look, it is nobody said this was going to be an event, and so even the successes will not be a one-time thing. And like the president assured, it's not going to be a flash in a pan. So if we have the turbidity levels improving, we can move to quality. But turbidity is also important. Yes, turbidity, I mean, many things contribute to the quality of water, but turbidity is one of it. So if we say that we have improved turbidity, like the EPA presented yesterday, yes, we mark it as an achievement, but we demand for improved quality. Okay. And that is where you look at the cyanide and the other ions that are all in the water, and the need to ensure that we clean all of that.
But the discussion, the point that you are raising, I think what we need to maybe just look at is the fact that we were presented with data from July
Yeah.
Data picked from site that NIMOS had gone to do some operations there. And between July and October, we've not seen this much of presence on the ground because NIMOS is still waiting for resources. And I can tell you, a lot of the areas, the Pra Rivers, all those areas, most of these areas, we have even have serious situations where, and that's how come within the 3 months we've had Konyako and water treatment station being shut down. So I don't think that data presented was reliable enough for us to already jump to conclusions that our water bodies are improving. If you go to the ground,
let me understand you. Reliable in which sense? Is it that it is you suspect it is outdated and should be updated, or you are just saying that it was not correctly
No, I'm saying that data for me is obsolete now in the terms of the situation.
Depending on because of when it was done.
Exactly.
You say it is July.
Exactly.
And within
that period, we've had a lot of water treatment stations.
Let's say that we are looking at the glass in different ways.
Exactly.
Because it was taken in July, Darrell thinks that if it is taken today, it can be worse. Well, I can also think that if it is taken today, it may be better.
Hold on.
Are you getting the point? If it is taken today, it may be better.
Okay,
I'm saying that.
But I agree with you.
The point is that since that data was collected,
that we should update that data.
We have had several water treatment stations be shut down. Well, but so what is your justification for saying that our water bodies are improving?
No. Right. You see, this is a scientific. Darrell, that's what I'm saying. It says it should be a scientific conversation. The fact that it doesn't take a month or two for a water treatment system to take a decision to shut down. It would have been as a result of accumulated issues. So if before July they had those issues and they were managing, and then in August they shut down, it doesn't mean that between July and August there hasn't been an improvement in turbidity. There could be an improvement in turbidity, but there can be a deterioration in their plant. Are you getting the point I'm making? So the improvement in turbidity is not directly linked to the performance of a treatment plant. Maybe the water treatment plant has gotten worse over the years, and the turbidity will not. The improvement in the turbidity may not, impact the treatment plant already.
The main reason
so what I am saying is that where I agree with you, Darrell, is that is that July data needs to be updated because we are in September. But it is not. But in the absence, But in the absence of an updated data, it will be unfair to say that I shouldn't use the July data to say that water turbidity has improved.
I wanted an answer to that specific question earlier about what has been done to fulfill that promise of arresting the kingpins, the financiers of the Galamsey. That was a specific promise from you. So what has been done in that regard?
But you see, when I started, that's the point I made about how I was, happy to hear the Attorney General reveal that we began work on a company like Akonta Mining. We all know how big it is in the small-scale mining space and how difficult at first it was to get information. But later, they discovered a docket, and he has spoken with the lawyers. According to him, the lawyers want the CEO to come on Tuesday. He is insisting that he should come on Monday, and that by tomorrow, so that they will read. No, Monday, 2 days after today, so that they will read his charges to him, and also what do you call it?
Prepare to go to court.
You call
this Miranda rights.
Miranda rights. They will read his Miranda rights to him and prepare to go to court. That is one example of going after the kingpins. Again, the assurance that nobody will be shielded, nobody will be covered, comes from the evidence that even party leaders of the ruling government have been referred to investigative bodies for investigation. And when that is concluded and any of them is found to have engaged in any wrongdoing, I'm confident that civil society will yield to the president's request to put pressure on his government to ensure that he delivers. We are not in any way shy or running away from the pressure of civil society. We actually, welcome it because we want to succeed together and build this country better for future generations.
Al-Hassan Suhini, that is going to take over at some point. But I want us to take a listen to the Attorney General, Dr. Dominic Akuritinga-Ayine, on this Akonta mining matter. And Dara, I'll take your last words on this while we round up on this issue. As I indicated to you, we have a second part of this show's conversation focused on the President's and the United Nations General Assembly speech, and then also a number of things quite extensively that have been done at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. In fact, yesterday there was some news that just come through, which was breaking news as of midnight. We will talk about it. The Minister in charge of Foreign Affairs of the Republic of Ghana, Samuel Okudzeto Ablakwa, is joining us for the last half or the last hour of this show. So stay with us. But this is Dr. Ayine. Take a look at this.
In 2002, the police conducted very diligent investigations in respect of Akonta mining, but the docket was hidden until we came to power. In fact, when we came to power and I started the investigation with the the Lands and Natural Resources Minister and the Forestry Commission, we were finding it difficult to get information. Subsequently, the police themselves owned up and presented the docket to my office 2 months ago. So as we speak, the charges against Chairman Wuntumi, Akonta Mining, and 5 others have been signed as I speak. Currently, we are waiting for him to be read his right to remain silent, etc. Before we've asked that he should be brought from.
That's Dr. Ayine there on the Akonta mining. Finally, on this. So beyond this engagement and the promises made, what next? Darryl, you were there at the meeting, so what next?
Yes, Alfred, I think one of the things that we've always been saying about updating and taking the citizens along, and I like what Honorable Suyini is saying, that look, the government wants to succeed with us together. And I think that is a very crucial point. And that's why we are saying that, look, this should not be just one quarterly meeting or update that the presidency is doing with CSOs. We actually need to have the presidency and all other state agencies, the Forestry Commission, the Water Resource Commission, the EPA, on a monthly basis coming together and updating citizens on the state of affairs, on key indicators on water, forest, and even now looking at how these issues are affecting our food systems. We will have to get the Ministry of Food and Agriculture also updating us on the kind of food available, the quality of food available to us as a people. So I think it is very, very important. So Honorable Surini, please, I think maybe it's a point that you should push very much to the people at the executive level that, look, we need to have these regular updates.
I agree.
And we don't even need to invite CSOs to the presidency to do that.
Yeah.
We should do it as a state, kind of addressing the nation, updating all of us what is happening. That's, for me, is how you take the citizens also along. And we don't always have to wait before we knock on your doors before you put information out there for us to know what is happening. Then one aspect of this matter that, Alfred, I think we also need to look at has to do with the aspect of taking the fight also to the ground and empowering local people to be involved as well as monitors, not only the Blue Water Guards. The president talked about KPIs for MCEs, DCs, and even police commanders. These KPIs, we, the people on the ground, we don't know what these KPIs are.
I see.
So how do we effectively even monitor the police commanders, monitor the MCs and DCs as to what is expected of them, so we can really push them to do what they're supposed to do? Because a lot of the issues about this fight also is coming from the local level. You have police commanders, district police officers sitting at the landscapes in communities and not responding to frustrations of community members. And that is an aspect I think that we should look at. There's been several issues of also some DCs and all of that. People are complaining that, wait, is this DC really serious about the Galamsey fight as the president is? How do we ensure that the people in the community, maybe somebody in Orechum knows really what is expected of the MCE so that they can demand accountability? Again, there are some issues that we have not spoken about. You see, in the past regime, Galamsey kingpins and some of their financiers use the courts and also the police to intimidate a lot of community people. And to the extent that these kingpins brought up cases against community members who are fighting to save their community water bodies and forest reserves and all of that. There are a few cases out there that I think that the AG needs to look at. There are cases of some people in our Toronto community, for example, who are being prosecuted for just standing up for their community right. And this is something that's very common in most areas where communities are intimidated. So there was a point that was made by the GJA president about the fact that we need to tell the stories. I think when the media is out there and is telling the story, we should also pay attention to the frustrations of the community people. It is really sad to go to communities and see them struggle to get water, see community people struggle to protect their farmlands from some of these, and there's nobody there to really provide them the very rapid support that they need. So, Alfred, on that note, I want to say that there's a lot still that needs to be done. And so far, we will expect that the president of the land will take the very decisive decision to ensure that these are there. I think the president must do more, and that is our expectation.
How about last one, Sweeney? There's a minute. We have to round up on this.
Well, I will just want to encourage all actors in the space. I see a genuine commitment from everybody in government and in civil society. I see a genuine commitment to succeed. And so we, once again, I'll repeat, have to limit, discussions or conversations that will be focused on, glories that don't impact anything. We should be focused on collaboration that makes more sense and collaboration that gives us better results. We should see each other as collaborators in this fight. Once there is the genuine commitment from all stakeholders, then we should see ourselves as collaborators instead of seeing ourselves as we against them and we versus them. Because I don't see any, opposition now. What I see are sometimes disagreements about approach, which can easily be ironed out when you see yourselves as collaborators. And I want to thank once again the organizers of the event yesterday at the presidency and the CSOs for their contributions.
Well, question just in a minute on this.
I'm just going to say that, I like the note we are all standing on.
Yes.
Commitment might be very necessary to fight this, but in and of itself is not sufficient. Let's go beyond commitment. Let's put in actions. Let's keep that. And as I said, I love the dialogue. They said that they didn't invite me. So
thank you.
Don't say everything about me.
Thank you so much. Thank you for.
Let me say that I see the son of man around, the foreign minister around, and somebody said somewhere, and I agree that the way he's going, if we are not careful, very soon we will have visa free to USA.
That's an issue indeed that we'll get into shortly. Now we've had the visa restrictions imposed by the United States lifted, and as to what exactly led to that is what we're going to get into. It's an exclusive conversation we're having with the Minister in charge of Foreign Affairs, Samuel Okudzeto Ablakwa, here on the Cape One.
You didn't give me the 1 minute.
Yeah, 1 minute. Forgive me, please.
Yes,
forgive,
so I
forgive
agree
me.
This is with what my co-panelists have said. Where I need more visibility is that I keep repeating. I think you've also even repeated. Can we get a daily update that every day, where are we in terms of, okay, here, there, because it's the scale of it. You see, so far, people are saying that, no, they are not seeing much because even the media yourself, you don't have visibility. You see, so if we would get to know that, look, each day, these are the number of boots on the ground, etc., then it shows the commitment. You see, it shows the commitment, but once you don't have numbers, people will say nothing is going on.
Yeah.
They would, and then as soon as you see, what do you call it, yellow or brown rivers being shown on social media, then people say, oh, the government is doing nothing. Government is doing nothing. So we need, up to the minute update. Of course, that could be the extreme, but on daily basis, we should see what is being done.
Right. Thank you so much. And Daryl Bosso, thank you very much, the Deputy National Director of Arocha Ghana. I also want to thank Alhaj
Deputy.
Alhaj Al-Hassan Soini.
Yes,
Thank you.
Thank you
I
very
do
much.
appreciate we will have to
We'll keep
have
in
this
touch.
conversation on this
Thank you.
big push, the next aspect of it as well. Thank you. He is a Deputy Minister in charge of Roads and Highways, also the Member of Parliament for the Tamale North constituency. And our next conversation will start off with the President's speech at the United Nations, dovetail into the recent developments regarding the United States-Ghana relations and this visa restrictions that have been lifted. Now, I'll be joined on Zoom by Dr. Mohammed Ibn Chambers as well, a celebrated son of the land, consummate diplomat. He's currently Africa Union's representative for silencing the guns, joining us on Zoom as well. But let's quickly recall, this is what the president said. One of the major highlights of that speech, he arrived from the United Nations this week. So one of the major highlights of that speech was on the position that he espoused unequivocally on the happenings in Gaza with respect to the Israeli-Palestinian war. Take a look.
The denial of visas to President Abbas and the Palestinian delegation sets a bad precedent and should be deeply worrying to all member nations of the United Nations. Ghana recognized the state of Palestine in 1988 and supported a two-state solution to the conflict since then. And I say, contrary to the claims of some, a two-state solution would not be a reward for Hamas. It would rather be a reprieve for the hundreds of thousands of innocent women and children and people who are facing collective punishment and forced starvation for no reason other than the fact that they are Palestinian. For nearly 2 years and for the fear of reprisals, we here in this General Assembly have been playing hide and seek with language to find the right words to help us avoid or excuse what we all know is taking place in Gaza. But here's the thing, it doesn't matter what you call it. If it looks like a duck, it swims like a duck, and quacks like a duck, well, then it must be a duck. The crimes in Gaza must stop.
It's a clear, strong statement by the president that resonated globally. In fact, the reactions to it was a global one as we monitored. And earlier in the week, he arrived from the United Nations 80th General Assembly session where this speech was made. And even though he spoke truth to power to the world leaders and indicated they were playing ostrich with this, they clapped for him, even though it was just a bitter truth that he had to put in there for them to acknowledge. And Dr. Mohammed Ibn Chambers is joining us on Zoom. Thank you so much, sir, for joining us here on The Key Point. It's always great to have you making the time to join us, because I know that you've got a busy schedule. All right? Thank you so much. First off, hearing the president in this aspect of the speech that got the global acclaim and the response, how did it strike you? What are the major sticking points of the president's speech a week ago, a little over a week ago?
Well, first of all, it was very effectively and eloquently delivered. And it also covered all the essential points that a speech at that stage, the UN General Assembly should. You know, this is a platform where heads of state come to articulate their vision of the role that their countries, their continent can play in shaping a just, secure, and prosperous world. And, in that regard, as is commonly been acknowledged, President Mahama did us proud as Ghanaians in the effective manner in which he articulated on national, continental, and global issues.
And it's a very important point in there. And at this point, let me acknowledge the presence of, and Dr. Chambers, please stay with me. Samuel Okuja Blakwa, the Member of Parliament for North Tongue, first of all, before anything else. And most importantly as well, the Minister in charge of Foreign Affairs of the Republic of Ghana is joining us in the studio. Good morning. Thank you for joining us.
Hi, good morning, Alfred. Good to see you. And good morning to the panel. And good morning to the distinguished viewers of the Republic of Ghana. And let me extend very warm regards to my uncle and mentor, Dr. Ibn Chambers. It's good to see him looking very well and hearty this morning.
Wonderful. You've been doing the Lord's work, as they say, going around and a lot that's happening now. And us acknowledging your presence, let me just finish up with Dr. Ibn Chambers so he can leave us. Yes, Zakuja Blakwa is joining us now. Mr. Chambers, you were making the point about that aspect of the president's speech, because before we had that little connection issue with you. But zooming into that clear statement that he made about the Israel-Palestinian war and the position that global, or it says world leaders, the superpowers have taken about this, and not speaking the truth as it is and playing ostrich about it. He spoke truth to power and got the applause of the global superpowers. That's one to watch, isn't it?
Well, he was speaking the truth, and you can say that he was speaking truth to power in that regard. Because if you take the specific case of Gaza and the atrocities that are being committed there on a daily basis, it amounts to a total undermining of international legality as we know it. The UN is founded on charter, which over the years has been the reference point for international behavior to ensure peace and security. The UN has been against war and working to ensure there's peace and security. It has been against the occupation of Palestine in particular. And now we face a situation where that particular crisis, the Israeli-Palestinian crisis, has entered a phase which has gone beyond all acceptable levels, to the extent that, as you know, South Africa, Brazil, and a number of other countries took this case to the International Court of Justice, which pronounced that what was going there was genocide. Besides that, the UN Commission on Human Rights and practically all the leading authorities in the world on genocide have all pronounced that what is going on there amounts to genocide and should be stopped. The war should end, and yet we don't seem to see the end in sight. Of course, in the last few days, there seems to be some positive developments. A new proposal for ceasefire has been floated, and only today we are hearing that Hamas has responded to this positively. So let's hope we are seeing the end of the tunnel, light at the end of the tunnel. In this particular case, it's been horrendous what has gone on there. But for me, in addition to raising the issue of Gaza, what also pleased me is the fact that President Mahama talked about Sudan. Sudan, which is even a bigger conflict than what we have seen in Gaza in terms of displacements, in terms of 12 million Sudanese have been internally displaced. 12 million. 3 million are refugees. The entire population of Gaza is 2 million. 3 million Sudanese are displaced, and yet international attention has not been focused on this African crisis. So I was very pleased that President Mahama brought it to the fore, and so as to say that Sudan and Sudanese people also deserve the attention that other conflicts such as Gaza, such as Ukraine, are receiving. So I think it was very, very pertinent that he did that.
Apologize to our viewers for the connection being a little cranky, but I think that his expressions are audible. And Dr. Eben Chambers, thank you. And kindly stay with us all through the conversation. So, Blocko, you were there in the hall when the president made this speech. What was the reaction in the room like when this particular aspect of the speech was made?
No, absolutely. This was a speech that was well received. He had intermittent applause. He was very warmly embraced by world leaders after the speech. He was told that he has really lifted the image of the continent. And let's be honest, if there has been any speech on the world stage in recent times that has restored the image of the black race, that has lifted high the spirit of the African people, and that has brought us renown, inspiration, and really elevated our consciousness and dignity. It is this address by His Excellency John Dramani Mahama. And I'm not surprised that he continues to receive very rare reviews, tremendous acclaim. A lot of analysts, international relation experts, pundits are all asserting in very clear terms that this will go down in history as one of the most consequential, the most seminal UN speeches ever delivered. And we have to really be proud as Ghanaians that President Mahama took to the global stage, went to the United Nations in New York, and did not embarrass us, did not let us down, did not just, make those mundane statements that will not give us the respect, the honor that we deserve. And you have heard many of our fellow Africans say that they could associate with President Mahama's address. And all over, they are commending Ghana, that Ghana stood up for the African people, but also stood up for the cause of justice. Because if you look at all the global issues President Mahama raised, these are issues that many have been hesitant to talk about, have been scared to talk about because of the, if you like, consequences, the rise in, far-right politics.
Absolutely.
And how these nationalist leaders may take it out on you. But he was not afraid to say it as it is. And his famous expression that, look, if it walks like a duck, if it quacks like a duck, it looks like a duck, we all know what it is. And on the Palestinian issue, he first and foremost reminded the international community that Ghana has always been on the right side of history, that we recognize the state of Palestine as far back as 1988. We have always been for the two-state solution, that it is totally abominable and detestable, irreprehensible to say that one state should not exist and that you are going to wipe away a whole nation, a whole group of people, human beings, and that the UN's position, the two-state solution, which Ghana as far back as 1988, and we have been consistent, and we are always proud to remind everybody that in this country, we have given full diplomatic accreditation to the state of Israel and to the state of Palestine. And we are very proud of that. And so to see that this year, countries like France, Canada, the UK, Australia, Belgium, Luxembourg, Malta, Monaco, Portugal, San Marino, and the others are all now recognizing Palestine and confirming, as President Macron did in that special session on Palestine, that they now fully associate with the two-state solution. We should feel very proud. And that is why ahead of the president's address, when some people were saying that he should stay away from the Palestinian situation and that it should not be our business, you know, I was totally appalled, and I have to salute, you know, a considerable number of Ghanaians who said that, look, Ghana's position on this matter since 1988 is the right way, and other countries are now, you know, seeing the light and commending us.
Now, I'd also raised the issue that, look, this was a slippery path that, you know, other world leaders, superpowers had stayed away from, and the president decided to go on this path. Wasn't he opening himself and the country to some risks? And I'm sure that you, the handlers, did you also assess the possible fallouts and the mitigation measures that could be put in place if there is any fallout?
So, certainly, in coming to these decisions and these matters, you must look at the whole gamut of factors, and you must be well considered. You must be very analytical. But let us not forget that there are principles that we stand for. We stand for the rule-based order. We stand for freedom and justice, which is well ingrained in our coat of arms, in our DNA as a people. Because of our own history, we have gone through the transatlantic slave trade. We have gone through colonialism. So we are a people who hate oppression. And that is why even in our national anthem, in our national pledge, all of these principles are well established. We recite them always, that we will always stand and resist oppressors' rule. Now, if you look at Article 73 of our Constitution, which is clear, that at the end of the day, what should inform, what should undergird, what should really define our international relations, our foreign policy, should be our national interest. Our national interest cannot be delinked from our national history, from what we stand for, the principles that we have always espoused. And so when you look at it in that manner, in the full context, you will really stand up for the oppressed Palestinian people. Of course, we condemn what happened to the Israelis on October 7, and our government, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, put out strongly worded condemnation. I mean, terrorism should have no place in our world. We should all commit to neutralizing terrorists and ending that scourge. But when there has been a terrorist attack, our position is that identify the perpetrators and bring them to justice. Don't take it out on innocent civilians, women and children. Over 60,000 lose their lives and millions are displaced, and you reduce people's settlements, people's livelihoods, what they have worked for all their lives, to rubble. I mean, and President Mahama was saying in another meeting, you know, bilateral meeting after his address, that he wonders what, you know, will happen to the state of Palestine, how all of that rubble will be cleared, where it will be cleared to, and how, you know, Palestine, the Palestinian state will be rebuilt. So you see a certain vindication now. You notice that after President Mahama's address, which has been well received, and many leaders, you know, aligning with his position, you see now that President Trump put out a 20-point plan.
In fact,
and last night
that's what I was going to get into,
we put out our formal position on the president's instruction on Ghana's position on President Trump's 20-point peace plan.
And that's why I started this conversation with you, because that's the latest. We received this statement before midnight last night, and this is it, that statement in support of President Donald Trump's 20-point Gaza peace plan. So you say Ghana supports this 20-point Donald Trump solution. This is what this statement is all about.
Yes.
Why the support exactly?
So this statement is very much consistent with President Mahama's address at the United Nations. President Mahama, if you recall, stated emphatically that the crimes in Gaza must stop. He didn't mince words at all. Mm-hmm. That's a verbatim quote from his address. The crimes in Gaza must stop. He called for de-escalation, that this genocide, and you heard Dr. Ibn Chambers very clearly, and before this UN address, Ghana had stated that we align with the position of the UN experts. I mean, we have scholars and experts on genocide who have concluded in a unanimous report that what is happening to the Palestinians is genocide and that it has to be called what it is. Now, this Trump 20-point Gaza peace plan calls for exactly what President Mahama is demanding.
Would there be an end to this tremendous suffering
ceasefire,
and the loss of human lives?
De-escalation. This is clearly an olive branch being extended. The Trump administration, which, remember, has a lot of leverage, they wield tremendous influence on Israeli politics. And Prime Minister Netanyahu listens to President Trump. So President Trump has the influence and the Trump card, no pun intended.
Yes.
Now, this 20-point peace plan, if you study the 20 points, which calls for an immediate release of the hostages on both sides from Hamas and then from the Israeli authorities, specific numbers have been provided, and for every hostage released by Hamas, 15 Israelis will be released. And then it calls for a de-radicalization of Hamas. It calls for a safe passage for Hamas to move out of Palestine to a country of their choice where they will be protected.
Yes.
The peace plan is also clearly stating that now the Palestinians and the Israelis can live side by side. Remember that this has become a contentious issue where Prime Minister Netanyahu said that it is his desire to abolish the Palestinian state and that he does not think that a two-state solution is the way to go, really contradicting the UN position on this matter since 1948. I am delighted that this 20-point peace plan, and it's a major shift, we have to admit, even on U.S. foreign policy. So it shows that all of the international pressure by President Mahama, those who have come on board, led by President Macron, Prime Minister Keir Starmer, and the Prime Minister of Canada, Norway, and others, clearly that pressure, is yielding results. So what this peace plan will do is to eventually lead to ceasefire and de-escalation, return of the people of Palestine who are seeking refuge in many places around the Middle East. And then, most importantly, it will begin to usher us into a rebuilding of Gaza. So it's a very significant development. It calls for a peace board as well.
Right.
And there's been some controversy, though, about the first person named, former Prime Minister of the UK, Tony Blair, who's been named to serve on the peace board. But clearly, when you look at our statement, you can see that Ghana is still conscious of a non-aligned role.
Okay.
So even though we are, and you see, your friends are those, and I've been telling my good friend, the Israeli ambassador, that the way we are brought up in this country, our culture, our way of life, and the principles we stand for, a good friend is the one who is able to tell you that, look, this time you got it wrong. Because I love you, I care about you, this path you are taking is not the right path. And so we are not going to, as it were, cut ties with the Israelis or, if you like, reduce our bilateral cooperation. Neither are we going to say that we will stay away from the Palestinians. We will maintain cordial bilateral relations with both sides. We will deepen those ties. Indeed, we are doing a lot in terms of education, agriculture, and we have a lot of new cooperation that we are exploring. And I like how President Mahama quoted President Nkrumah during his address, that we seek to be friends of all and enemies to none. That has always been our raison d'etre, and it will continue to guide us, as we pursue our foreign policy. And so the statement we put out last night on President Mahama's instruction was to really urge all factions, particularly Hamas, which, remember, that until this morning had not responded. Now Hamas has responded, and they are calling for some amendments, but it's a good step. And I think that the pressure that countries like Ghana and others who have come on board, France, UK, Canada, are demonstrating is the way to go. Right. And let us remember that all of us, people may be asking, okay, so how does this affect the ordinary Ghanaian? First of all, we must know that injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. If we allow certain principles to be established in world affairs, where might is right, because you are powerful, you have nuclear weapons, you have a strong army, you can invade a country, you can decide that some nation should not exist, and you can just descend and bomb them and all of that. And another significant development over the past few days has been Prime Minister Netanyahu apologizing to Qatar, to the state of Qatar. And remember that Ghana condemned the attack on Qatar, that it was certainly an affront to their sovereignty, and that should not have been done. Those who may have been wondering why Ghana did that, now with the apology from Prime Minister Netanyahu, you see that Ghana's foreign policy is very much on track, and that we are sticking to principle. And you see, it is not difficult. When you stick to principle, the rule-based order, respect for sovereignty, respect for the UN Charter, respect for human rights, these principles, once you stick to it, you will always be on the right side of history, on the side of the oppressed, of the vulnerable, and the Almighty will be on your side, and God will continue to bless you. So these things eventually come to help us, particularly those of us who are relatively small countries, who don't have some of the weapons and ammunitions and artillery and bombardment power that these countries have. So these are very good principles that help our country moving forward.
It was worth that you make this point, because when this statement was received, those are some of the reactions to it, which you have answered. I'm going to go for a quick break. And when we are back, the other issue, which really, when we advertised that you were coming to respond to this statement that Ghanaians are asking about, is this: the reversal of the U.S. visa restrictions on Ghana. There were reasons why those restrictions were imposed. If it has been reversed, does it mean that those reasons are no longer valid? And the reversal, is it a conditional reversal? How long is it going to take? It's one that you would have to answer to. But let me remind you that if you're seeing these bottles on the table, talking about UGL Premier Fresh Natural Mineral Water, it's a premium product of UGL. That's the commercial subsidiary of the University of Ghana, where Dr. Zato is a lecturer, and Samuel Dr. Blakwa was once a student leader as well on that campus, together with Martin Kwebu as well. Indeed. Yes. Our water is sourced from natural springs in the Ikoma enclave, where we strive to maintain its most natural form through reverse osmosis purification technology. We preserve essential natural minerals while ensuring the water remains perfectly safe. I'm talking about UGL Premier Mineral Water. You can contact them. In fact, their depot is at the University of Ghana, Liman Hall. But call them on these numbers and tell them that you heard me talk about it on Key Point. They would give you a special package: 056 181 4444, 056 181 4444, or 055 506 0150, 055 506 0150. That's why if you see me this morning, And my outfit, as always, is by Cobra Clothing. It's the best version of you. You can contact them for this outfit and many others that you've seen me wear here on The Key Point on TV3. Call them on this number, 0244-238-341, 0244-238-341 for this outfit and many others as Cobra wear. It's the best version of you. We'll be back shortly after this quick break. Visa restrictions for Ghanaians to the US has been reversed. Good news, yes. You want to know the details? Stay with us. We'll be back shortly.
When we come together, generations connect through love and legacy. In the present stillness, we see echoes of the past and enduring strength, founded on Gassam's unwavering commitment. From generation to generation, Gassam has been a cornerstone in shaping our nation's future. And now, with Gassam's new EcoCool, we set a new standard for strength and sustainability. Gassam EcoCool, cementing a sustainable nation. Gassam, the nation builder.
We all play differently. Some live for the thrill, some play chill. But it's the emotions that unite us. Bets for everyone. Reveal yourself. 1xBet.
What am I done? Huh? That's a cat.
What's that? Kukua, you know you are sick. I don't want quality production.
Director, I know who you are.
All right, everybody, car.
Take it easy.
Sit down, come on.
Reporting from the Takoradi Market Circle.
From the heart of the Upper West Regional Capital.
From the heart of the Ashanti Kingdom.
Reporting from Sunyani.
From the Central Business District of Navrongo.
The parliamentarians are on recess.
This is where it all unfolds. The moments that potentially alters the course of our nation and the world. These are the individuals we recognize, the voices we amplify, who appears on screen and who contributes behind the scenes. With professionalism at our core, we bring you news you can trust, impact journalism that makes a difference. This illustrates how diverse perspectives enhance our strength and reinforces our mission. This is 3 News, leaders in breaking news, exclusive interviews, facts and analysis on TV, radio, online and digital. 3 News, first in news.
Facebook, DSTV channel 279 all across the world on 3news.com. Quite a number of your messages as well on this. This one here says that, Alfred, it's good that you asked the Honorable Minister about the risk of the President's position he espoused globally. I think that the clarity this morning is important. We are friends to all and enemies to none, you say. This one here from Dr. Kwame Hassan says, good morning to you and your esteemed guest. And the statement that he made, which for me is of prime importance this morning, is Okujato Ablakwa saying that we must know that injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. That must underscore the conversation on what is happening in Gaza everywhere. Thank you very much for your messages, and a number of them, all of you also then saying one thing or the other about what the minister is doing in the ministry. So that's quite a lot. But a number of you are asking about visa waivers as well. Martin Pebu says a visa waiver to the United States will be a good one. But
and he'll be president straight away if he can do it. I'm sure.
So if Alukuda Blakwa is able to get an agreement with the United States to waive off visas for Ghanaians, we just have to buy a ticket and go.
Yes, and he should be president automatically because he would have changed the economy straight away overnight.
I just hope that everybody won't leave.
Half will leave, the rest of us will stay. But the unemployed ones have to go. They have to go and get jobs there. Then we will stay. So automatically change the economy.
Not too long ago, the United States imposed visa restrictions on Ghanaians, essentially the Republic of Ghana, sometime in July. Just refresh our minds. What were the reasons why these restrictions were imposed? Before we get into now that we are eligible for this 5-year multiple visas after the decision to reverse or revoke the restrictions.
So first of all, it is important to recall that this was not a U.S. decision targeting only Ghana.
Okay.
We were in a group of 36 countries. Before this 36, President Trump had outrightly banned 12 countries. It was one of his first executive orders that he signed. He did a similar thing in his first term, you will recall. So in his second term, he banned 12 countries outrightly. You know, the likes of Iran, Libya, citizens of Cuba, Afghanistan, total ban. Then for 36 countries, including Ghana, Nigeria, Ethiopia, Cameroon, and others, the decision by the Trump administration was harsh visa restrictions. And it is important for us to acknowledge that as we speak, Ghana is the only country out of the 36 countries with these latest round of visa restrictions imposed in July this year, which has a reprieve and a reversal. Ghana is the only country.
The only
country out of the 36. So this is such a major development, and it speaks to the Mahama administration's ability to negotiate. It shows the weight of our foreign relations, the capacity that we have, and the cordial relations that we enjoy with our partners in the United States of America. And I think that that point should not be lost on us at all. It's not as though this is a mass reversal, that all of the countries in that 36 category have had a reversal. Only Ghana. Ghana becomes the only country so far out of the 36.
So what led to this decision for these visa restrictions to be reversed?
Great question. So the United States of America says, and it comes back to your earlier question, that in the case of Ghana, they have had to impose the restrictions because of visa overstays. And they cite two main categories. They say that the worst offenders were those who travel to the United States on student visas to study in that country, and that after their studies, they do not return. They stay, and President Trump imposed a 15% threshold. So they did the analysis. any country that exceeds 15%, that over the last 10 years, if you are below 15% of your students who entered the United States to study and overstayed, did not return, if you exceed 15%, you will be eligible for this sanction, for this restriction. In the case of Ghana, when they did the analysis and they showed me the data, we had exceeded the 15% to 21%. And they have the names. They know the students, they know where they are. They have the data. Then there was a second category of those who travel on government delegations, and the full government delegations do not return. So, for example, you're traveling with a minister or a presidential delegation from Ghana to the US, say, to attend an event, a UN event, or a conference, or whatever.
They go and they don't come back.
And then some don't come back, which is really strange. And I don't think that we should tolerate this and accept this. So in a sense, over the years, we have also not conducted ourselves very well. We have not come out, squeaky clean when it comes to these visa matters. And that is why President Mahama has been urging, I have also been urging the Ghanaian traveling public that let us respect immigration laws, let us abide by the terms of our visas so that we don't create problems for everybody else. So a few people who will travel out and refuse to come, if you want to stay, there are processes to go through to legitimize your stay to be a permanent resident. But don't just abuse your visa. It creates problems for everybody else. So we will continue with the public education. So in the case of Ghana, this is what happened. Now, when this happened, as foreign minister, I promptly opened negotiations. You'll recall that I immediately flew to the State Department and sought audience with the Undersecretary of State for Political Affairs, Her Excellency Alison Hooker. The Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, asked that we engage her and that she was in charge of this matter. That was her schedule.
Right.
We commenced negotiations immediately. Now, we could have said that this new administration could have said that, look, this is not our doing. We have been told that this is a historical matter over a 10-year period of overstays. And people will probably have thought that we will engage in blame games. We didn't do that. We took responsibility, full responsibility, and on President Mahama's blessings, we decided to open negotiations. Now, let us remember that diplomacy is always about negotiations, always. Countries want things from each other. I want something from you. You also want something from me. So when we gave clear indication that Ghana is ready to negotiate, we will not accept this because within days, and this happened at such a difficult time, July, when students were preparing for the August-September, the new academic year.
Yeah.
And you know that because of language and the quality of education in the US, Ivy Leagues and all of that, we have a good number of Ghanaians who, continue to study in that country. So students were stranded, parents were worried, businesses were affected. Seafarers, I received petitions from seafarers. It was affecting their jobs. So there was really no way that a foreign minister, a government, a president who cares about their people will just allow this and say that, look, it's not only Ghana, 36 countries, and so let's leave it.
Well, these restrictions lifted because of these deportees from the United States that we received in this country.
So I have told you that we initiated talks. We said that, look, we are a responsible government. We will not allow our people to suffer. Yes, you have told us that it's because of visa oversight. You've showed us the data. We will not leave it. We want to negotiate with you. So we want you to engage us. And then they said I could come over to the State Department, which I did. Now, in the course of the negotiations, the Americans said, okay, you want something from us. And I put other things on the table. That is not only the visa waivers. That was, remember that it was around the same time that he had also begun the tariff wars. 15% tariff on Ghana. Some say that we were quite lucky. And then we had AGOA. No clarity on whether AGOA will be extended or not after September. So we put all of these things on the table. Now, they said, okay, you have come to us with what you want. You want us to reverse the visa restrictions. You want AGOA extended. You want us to relook at the 15% tariff. We are also now dealing with immigration challenges. We have all of these people who are in prisons. We are holding them in various ICE facilities.
Right.
So we want you to help us to deal with this issue.
Okay.
So I immediately consulted with President Mahama. Then there were cabinet discussions on the matter. Then Ghana said that, look, we are not going to accept Venezuelans, Mexicans, and all of this wholesale deportation all over the place. Within our ECOWAS protocols, our sub-regional legal regime, West Africans can travel without visas to West African countries. So we are going to make the case that, look, if you have some West Africans, in any case, we are not happy that our fellow compatriots are in this distress. They are being held up, they are in cages, they are being dumped elsewhere, places that they are not accustomed to, they don't have relatives, they can't integrate. So we will accept only West Africans under the principle of Pan-Africanism and regional solidarity. So that is how we amended, the U.S. request. Because you notice that other countries are accepting people from just anywhere.
Yeah.
We said that no, in the spirit of Pan-Africanism, we will accept West Africans, and we will make sure that these West Africans can safely move to their countries of choice.
I need that clarity. And while we're around that, which other countries, in fact, and quite a number of messages, there's a specific question about the countries that Ghana has had agreements or visa waivers with.
Yes, I mean, we are doing very well with, in this same spirit of, firm negotiations, fighting for Ghana. When I got to the ministry, we had overall, since independence, about 32 visa waivers. We've added 10 more, so we're now looking at about 42 visa waivers as a country. So the Kingdom of Morocco is the first one I negotiated. You recall, now Ghanaians can travel to Morocco visa-free, which is really helping our sports fraternity because of the sporting facilities. And Morocco is a very important tourist and sporting destination. We've done same for Mozambique, for Republic of Colombia, for Sao Tome and Principe, the Commonwealth of Dominica, for Serbia, for Algeria, for Angola, and recently on the sidelines of the UN General Assembly for Antigua and Barbuda. And it continues. We are negotiating with many more countries.
Martin, people's appeal is for the United States to be added to this list.
Well, now you can travel 5 years, 5 years, multiple visas.
Thank you very much.
The Honorable Foreign Minister is married to a woman from the Upper West region.
I see.
So
I'm
also your in-law. Please, our roads, the big push, you are a big member of this party, you are there. Especially the road from Hang to JFC to Chumu to Chuchulega.
It will be done.
I pray that you join your voice to get it done.
It's all in President Mahama's plan.
We want you to move to the
will be done.
Okay, please, I want you to help us to get it out. Okay. Thank you.
Samuel Ekudeto Ablakwa, the Foreign Affairs Minister, thank you very much. And there's two issues we're monitoring. The next 3 months, you have to make some time as well. Come for accountability conversations like this as well.
I will come. And let me congratulate the 5 illustrious Ghanaians who received diplomatic passports.
Hey, can I get one?
Wademaya